There's a lot of that stuff. That's exactly right.
I'm trying to catch people, but
You said 40 Stephanie go. Who? Stephanie. She was finding out like everybody. I was wanting her to get back up here and talk to her. Scratched them all right there. All right. We're ready. Here we go here. Yeah. This meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Zoning Appeals to order. And Mr. Terry Renault, would you open us in prayer, please? I will.
Father, we're so thankful for all the blessings you bestow upon us in our life, and the fact that we get to live in Jefferson County and East Tennessee, this beautiful place that you prepared for us. We ask that as we go through this meeting tonight, that we know that you're here with us, and that you're looking over us, and that we need to act as though as you were in our room and in our presence. We ask you to continue to go with us as we prosper and grow, and we know, Father, that there are many in our community at this time that have ailments that we only know that you know, and that they can heal, that you can heal and comfort those. But most of all, we thank you for the greatest gift that you've given us, and that's your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Trigger, will you lead us in prayer, please? Or lead us in pledge?
Me,
Yes, sir.
attention, salute, pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I trust that you received your packets and had a chance to look at the minutes, and if there's no corrections to those, I'm looking for a motion to approve. So moved. Have a proper motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Citizens' input. Okay, I'm going to call these names out just in the order that I've got the papers. Appreciate you being here. We definitely want to conduct things tonight in a, will you turn your light off, please, ma'am? Thank you, it's blinding me. You're fine, thank you. We're definitely going to do things in an orderly fashion. I don't trust we'll have any problems. We've been over several sensitive things in the last little bit, and we've done very well, and I expect that to continue tonight. If it doesn't, we'll ask you to leave, and if you refuse to do so, we will have you escorted. Again, don't think we'll have an issue with that, but just want to let everybody know where the fence is. And with that being said, we'll move forward. Do I have Ann Bryan here? Okay, if you would step to the podium, state your name and your address, and again, everybody will have 3 minutes at the podium. We'll be keeping the clock on that. That way, everybody gets a chance to speak that wants to. Okay.
Okay, my name's Ann Bryan, and I've lived in Piedmont for over 25 years. I have MS and I've had cancer. I have always sit outside my house under trees I have in my yard. I've also opened my windows. Now we have a quarry, I call it a rock mine. I cannot do those things. I cannot do those things. No sitting outside, no open windows. From my yard, I can see the trucks pulling out on Asheville Highway. There's dust everywhere. It comes from the road and from the trucks. It affects our skin, our throat, and our eyes. The dust will come off the road, even when the mine's closed. Rocks fall from the trucks. There's some in my yard right now. And I don't know who is wanting this rock mine approved. I don't think this property was zoned for a rock mine. I thought there was a stream that ran through there. This makes me wonder what happened to it. The rock mine quarry is toxic to this community. We also have a school across from this mine. This rock mine quarry does not belong in Piedmont. The trucks pass each other, one going one way, one coming the other. They are also, so loud you can't talk to each other. The sound and dust from this mine has made me feel like I'm a prisoner in my home because I can't be outside with that. And again, this rock mine quarry does not belong in Piedmont. And I hope you vote against it, against this company. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Is there a Pam Meadows here?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Pam Meadows. I live in Piedmont. We have talked about this a lot, and we've had a lot of complaints, and we have never had any of our questions answered by the zoning compliance officer. He has failed to see that it is a rock quarry. He has told us that it was a rock farm, that it was rock harvesting, and that it was the same as dirt removal. But it is none of those things. It is a federally licensed mine. It is also has a state permit for mines for wastewater treatment. It is unbelievable, unimaginable what we have witnessed and endured because of the noise and the dust that comes from this rock quarry. I don't know what else to say other than please try to see that it is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meadows. Is there a Dale Meadows here?
Yes.
Mr. Meadows, if you would, when you state your name, also state your address, please.
I was gonna try my best to remember that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Dale Meadows, and I live at 363 Battlefield Drive in Dandridge. For several months, people have been stepping up to this podium and airing their grievances and describing to anybody that would listen the negative impact and the disruption this rock quarry in Piedmont's had on their lives. I understand that the operator of this operation down there, this quarry, has an investment in it. But the people that live there also have an investment. They have an investment in their property, an investment in their homes, and they also have their lives invested in that community. By definition, this is a rock quarry, and it does not fit in an A1 zone. And this happened really without any warning. We didn't have any notice. We know when it first started, you could hear some activity going on down in behind those trees, and you wondered what was going on. And we didn't really get correct answers to those questions. But all of a sudden, this thing literally exploded into the disaster that it now is for the Piedmont community. And I'd just like you to ask yourselves, if you lived in an A1 area, A1 zone, and you had this thing across the road from you, would you be happy with it? Would you be satisfied to have it there? And I think the answer for that's got to be no. And if it is, it would really be wrong for you to impose this on somebody else. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows. Is there Mr. James Nolan here?
James Nolan, 714 McGuire Road, Newmarket, Tennessee. And I totally oppose a rock quarry or crusher or whatever you want to do there, because I think the people of the Piedmont community were done dirty by the way this was let into the community. And then my next thing is, I want to vote no on the rezoning for the ag to industrial on Cyclist Road for that distillery property, because this property should not be changed from ag to industrial, because...
Yeah.
Then-
Sir, that's off.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, I'm not going to attempt to say the last name, but the first name is Sandy. Is Sandy here? Didn't want to mess it up.
No, it's okay. It's Tamburello.
Okay.
My name is Sandy Tamburello, and I live at 1369 West Highway 2570. And my property is literally separated from this quarry by a barbed wire fence. Trees are covered in dust and dying along the property lines. We bought this from Mr. Fred Elder in 2021. It was a beautiful piece of property. There was, I don't know how many acres to the right of us. There was nothing but trees. We have Mr. Howard's property with cattle grazing on the other side. So my husband and I thought, you know, this is the spot where we're going to stay and live a peaceful, quiet, country-filled life. Suddenly, there's a quarry next door. It's literally my backyard. The impact of the dust, the airborne particles generated by the quarry's blasting and drilling, it contains silica, which has been linked to respiratory problems and lung diseases, including silicosis, which is a type of pulmonary fibrosis, and asthma. It involves the use of chemicals, explosives, solvents, and diesel fuel, which I'm sure is contaminating the soil. When they blast, there must be cracks. The water table may be getting contaminated. The visual impact is diminishing property values. If I wanted to sell my farm right now, who's going to buy it next to a giant quarry? The landscape is being destroyed. I spent hours looking up where this was approved, and I can't find anything. I do know that it's A1, and a quarry is not listed under that. Mining and quarries are listed under industrial. Since buying our property, within, I think, 3 months, the sound of heavy equipment, trucks, blasting, 7 days a week, from sunup to sundown, unless we get lucky and there's a snowstorm or a really bad rainstorm. I also have to contend with the crops in my garden dying from the dust. The trees are just, you know, we spent the weekend cutting down a bunch of dead and dying trees. My house is completely coated in dust on a daily basis. I don't even try to keep up with it anymore. There's an elementary school right across the road. There's a veteran who comes to the clinic where I work who has PTSD and doesn't leave his house, and this is triggering his anxiety. I don't think any of you guys would want this in your backyard. And again, I've tried to find the studies that were conducted before this was approved, and I can't find a single thing online. I subscribed to the newspaper, I went through all their articles, and I don't see anything, minute meetings or anything where it was, we're gonna do this, do you guys want this? So, yeah, so if y'all wanna come over, 1369 West Highway 2570, you have a full view of the big giant hole that's right next door to us. So, yeah, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Is there Mr. Chad Dixon here?
Chad Dixon, 2945 Raleigh Drive, Kodak, but I also own businesses in Jefferson County and property in the Piedmont community. Also, I'd kind of like to be a little bit on the conservative side on this thing because you can't buy nothing there. I stopped the other day, it wouldn't sell me nothing. So it's obviously not a quarry because most quarries I get to buy rock at. I'd say they're removing debris and rock from their property, as you can tell, but we see those everywhere. Got them all over Jefferson County, so I don't know how you're going to regulate this, or if you choose to regulate it. I mean, there's 5 of them within a 2-mile radius of where this one's at. Some of them have been there for years, and they're actually selling stuff on their property. There's signs up there for sale on about every one of them. So I think you ought to take into consideration about got enough regulations against businesses in this county now. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Miss Annette Loy.
I'm Annette Lloyd. I live at 1258 Beaver Creek Road, Strawberry Plains. I don't live in Piedmont. My property is a beautiful property. It has not yet been threatened by anything. I'm grateful, but I'm very concerned about Jefferson County. You have within your power tonight to right a wrong that has been done to the citizens of Piedmont. They are appealing to you to put a stop to the activities that have assaulted and destroyed their community over the past 2 years because of zoning regulation negligence in this county. I've been fighting this in one way or another for the last 15 years. Zoning is not working in this county for the benefit of the citizens of this county. It needs to be worked on. It needs to be corrected. As members of the five-member mayor-appointed, commission-approved board of zoning appeals, you are charged with deciding whether or not to halt or continue the improper mining activity in this area. This has trampled the land and the property rights of the citizens of the Piedmont community in Dandridge, Tennessee. Not my property, not my community, not yet. But I'm worried. I'm very worried. Your decision tonight will have far-reaching consequences. You have the power to give these citizens the relief they are requesting. Please use your power to do the right thing. Please. Our county and the future of our county depends upon it. These citizens love their homes and they love the land, and they'll continue to fight for it. I believe they will. I hope they will, because I need help. I'm fighting for mine, and I'm fighting for the future of my county. They should not be required to use their time, their resources, or their personal funds to defend themselves against the very people, you, who are charged with protecting their welfare. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lloyd. Mr. Alex Asbury.
Hello, my name's Alex Asbury. I live at 1122 West Duncan Valley Road in Dandridge. I don't want to repeat too much of what has been said about the Piedmont Quarry. I will say that the noise, dust, and blasting have had an impact on my life. I can hear the noise while laying in bed. I see the dust accumulate worse than the pollen in the spring and summer. It boggles my mind how these activities, which are recognized as mining by the state and federal registrations, are allowed on agricultural land. As I understand it, this was presented as a farmer moving rock off his land. If you look at the breadth and the depth of what is occurring on that property, no matter how you label it, it feels entirely incongruous with the current zoning. I feel this sets a dangerous precedent for what are already viewed as widely and extremely lax restrictions on one of the county's larger, if not largest zoning types. As this matter now rests in your hands, I would like each of you to consider whether this is right, how it affects the citizens of Piedmont, whether it reflects the will of the residents of the county at large, who through the recent community survey have expressed a desire to protect agricultural land, and whether or not it fits within the letter and spirit of our current zoning ordinances. And I would hope that in this, as in everything, you would do to others what you would have them do to you. And to add on to that, I would like to respond to some of the comments made earlier, in that I don't feel that it matters if they're selling some product to the public. What matters is the method that it's being extracted and blasted out of the ground. It doesn't really matter what they're doing, whether it is still a quarry. And it's not just dirt removal. It's not just a bulldozer moving a little hill somewhere. It's drilling and blasting of rock deep within the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asbury. I have one more citizens input. It says planning commission, so we're going back to that. Okay. That takes care of citizens input. We'll move on down the agenda to item 6. Variance request of 15 feet for the side setback on the front right corner of Timberstone RV Resort, 2012 West Highway 2570 in Newmarket by Dumpling Valley Properties, LLC.
That's Chad.
Chad Dixon.
Chad Dixon.
Would you like to speak on that, Chad?
Me and Jordan went down there today, and it's the bathhouse that he's needing the variance on.
Yeah, and all the guy, in the resolutions, there's a 50-foot setback on all campsites on RV parks around the perimeter of the property. And, we've kept all the RV sites within that 50-foot setback, and some of them even more than that. But the back corner of that bathhouse there is close to the McCampbell Church. Of course, we've already, I don't know if anybody's been down there or not, but all around the cemetery there, around the back of it, we've put up a big western cedar privacy fence, and we're going to continue that fence right on down to the road from where it ends. The fence ends right here, right now. And we're going to continue it down through here. We're going to take this tree line out and continue it through here. We're putting a gate in back here with a path so people can attend worship service that are camping on Sunday mornings.
Where's the cemetery at?
So, all up here.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and the privacy fence goes all around through here.
I
And
see.
it's already installed.
And how tall is your privacy fence?
Well, it's 6 feet tall, but we've cut the dirt below it, so it's 10 foot up on a bank and then another 6 foot. So you can't see from, you can't see nothing from either side.
No,
You're
you
just looking at
couldn't.
the fence.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Dixon?
Was this location the best place when he?
It is, yeah. The other side of the property, the left-hand side over there is, of course, there's a power line easement all the way across the back, and then I guess the left-hand side of the property out there, there's a hollow and a drain, runs all the way back down to 25. Which is all we've stayed out of.
He's gonna have the swimming pool down below it,
Right.
which makes sense to have the bathhouse.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Any further questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Gordon, do you have any issues with this?
No, I think it makes sense. I think it would make logical sense to move the least amount of dirt to put it in that location. I don't really have an issue with it.
What, was the church, they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I've talked to them.
okay.
So there's no problem with the church?
No, we've had no issues at all with the church. We've been along just fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to grant the variance there for a 15-foot setback on the front right corner of the Timberstone RV Resort.
Okay, we have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on down the agenda, the next item, 7, is the appeal of the decision of the zoning officer regarding rock quarry property in Piedmont by Mike Asbury.
Mr. Chairman, typically with respect to appeals, it's the appellants that are appealing Tim's decision.
Yes, sir.
For the benefit of everybody in the board, historically, Mr. Seals has kind of brought everybody up to speed as to the history of the use, the property, and how we are here. That'd be my suggestion, if there's no objection.
No
from Mr.
objection
Hurley.
whatsoever, that's fine.
Well, I think you all know, I've explained to you 2 or 3 times, but I went down there late, got a first complaint late of 2021. I couldn't tell you the exact month. But he was clearing woods and dirt then. And he asked if he could crush rock and do rock down there. And I said, no, you're in the wrong zone. You have to be industrial to do that. And I don't think you could ever get industrial zone down here. Commercial, maybe, because he's right in front of, behind commercial. And so he said he'd already applied for a permit down there. I said, well, you can't use it here. And I don't know how that works with the state. Well, then he asked if he could haul the rock out there. And I, as you all know, consulted with David Williams at the time, our planner. Of course, he passed away a year ago, as you all know too. He did some research, which I guess his notes went with him too, with the state. And he could not get he kept getting gray area of whether you could haul the rock out of there without crushing it. He definitely knew if you crushed the rock in there, you'd have to be industrial. But he made the call at the time that he saw, like a lot of people said, that would be no different than hauling dirt out of there. So that's what I told Mr. Whaley at the time. And then, of course, after that, he started hauling the rock out of there after he got, I guess, all the dirt, because he told me one time he'd hauled 600-700 loads of dirt out there before he got to the rock, I reckon. And then I went back down there. I had open heart surgery 2 years ago, and the next time I went on a complaint down there, he was doing the same thing. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. You all know, we talked about it again in January, if y'all remember.
Did you go back down there?
I did. I've been down there several times. And I went, and after January, when y'all told me, of course, I went back down there and took Jordan with me. He wasn't doing anything different than he was the last time I was down there, as I told you all. So.
You mean he was still hauling dirt, or he was?
No, he's hauling rock now. Yeah, the dirt, I think pretty much all the dirt's out. But he's never crushed rock down there that I've seen. I've never seen a crusher, and I don't believe he's lying to me. I've seen no evidence of it.
Yes.
Mr. Hurley.
Mr. Hurley?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Drennan, council, and members of this board, I'm Scott Hurley. I'm an attorney from down in Knoxville, Tennessee. I've been in Jefferson County in front of Jefferson County Commission and other regulatory bodies on many, many occasions. I grew up over in Hancock County. We played Jefferson County in basketball, usually ended up on the losing side of those propositions, but I've been around this area a lot and believe it to be a beautiful, gorgeous part of the state. And when these folks contacted me from the Piedmont area, I willingly agreed to represent them pertaining to this appeal. We're going to present this as efficiently and as quickly, but hopefully as efficiently and accurately as we possibly can tonight. So what I would like to do, so that you'll know how we're going to go about our presentation, I have a packet of information for each of you to take a look at. And it's my intention to walk you through these documents so that you can see what we're talking about if you've not been out there, if you've not seen aerials. And we have collected some data and some information from public sources, including Jefferson County and the state of Tennessee, for you to review here very briefly. And then once I've gone through this small packet of documents, it's my intention to call 4 or 5 witnesses just to let you hear from them, not just a repeat of what you heard in the citizen comment section, but some very specific items. I would say before presenting this to you that I heard the comment by the citizen over here, and certainly all of my clients understand property rights and the rights and the freedoms that people have to use their property as they see fit. In many of these instances, as I travel East Tennessee and come into these types of controversies, it may be a situation where a rock quarry or some other use of a property has been there for a long time, and then people bought in around that quarry or that operation later, and they became upset that there was a operation there that they believed harmed the value of their property. That is not this case. This case is where you have a large residential community, and I'm going to give you from the Tennessee property records and also Jefferson County records in just a moment a listing of all the properties that are in this area. Virtually every single one of them is, with the two exceptions right off the bat that are listed as commercial, but all of the other, almost 90 parcels of property are and have been zoned A1. They contain homes, residences, small farms, agricultural operations with cattle and other livestock, and many of them go back into second, third, and even fourth generation family ownership. They've been there for decades, the vast majority of them. A few others came from outside this area and purchased in that area in the early 2000s, 2010, 2020, but predating the location of this business in this particular community. And when they bought their properties and paid good money for the farmland, the homes, the residences, they looked at their zoning classification and it said A1. And they, with their faith and belief in that classification, bought these properties and moved their families into these homes and began to live in a place where they had chosen to live, Jefferson County, Tennessee. Somewhere in the 2021 to 2022 timeframe, Whaley Construction purchased a large tract of property. I believe it to be something just under 100 acres, maybe a little over 100 acres now, and made contact with Mr. Seal, as he just indicated. And what I believe I just heard him say is that their initial question was, could they crush rock? And they were told no. That would require a rezoning of the property. Could they haul dirt out? And they were told yes, they could haul dirt out. Could they haul rock out? And they found upon research that that was a gray area. So it's my understanding from what was just said that Whaley Construction was told, yes, you can haul dirt out, and initially that's what they did. Members of the Piedmont community and a few of the witnesses that I will put on here very shortly went to Jefferson County zoning offices and inquired what's going on there. And what they were told at that time, as you will hear in their testimony shortly, the property owner wants to clear some trees, park some equipment, and build a shop and haul some dirt. A man can do what he wants to do on his own property. There's no difference in what they're wanting to do and someone selling topsoil or field dirt from their property. Now that's what they will testify that they were told at that time. And I'll submit to you that at that time, based on what I just heard, that was true. But it sounds like once the property owner became in possession of and control of that property, that what was being hauled from that property changed markedly from the hauling of dirt to the hauling of massive amounts of rock and stone. Once it was discovered that that was in fact what was happening, they also found that in addition to the hauling, and actually before the hauling occurs, there was blasting. We're not talking firecracker type blasting, we're talking explosive type blasting. And the type of blasting that has shaken the homes, that has knocked picture frames off the wall, vases off of counters and tables. We're talking about the type of blasting that has caused large stones and rock to fly through the air onto other properties and to actually strike and land on other properties in this community. And we're going to show you one of those tonight because we have an eyewitness that actually saw it land approximately 25 feet from where he stood. But not only are we going to show you a picture of it, we brought the rock so that you can see it. So we have a property owner who has moved in after the fact and established what we believe is clearly a rock quarry and rock mining operation. In fact, I will show to you tonight and will submit as one of our exhibits The full permit that they filed for with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. It's a thick document, and I brought one. I'm going to hand it to your counsel just so that he can verify my reading of a portion of it here shortly. And in their permit that they applied for, that was granted, and that they accepted and that they operate under today, it defines their operation as a mining operation. That's the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation permit. I've got it here. I'm filing it with you tonight. We respect the rights of people to use their property as they see fit, for their own enjoyment and for their own benefit, so long as their use of their property is legal and proper and does not unduly infringe on or harm the rights of their neighbors to use their property. But when that use is a mining, rock mining and quarry operation, and when that use is occurring in a sea of A1 property with not a single industrial site within this area, we submit respectfully to you that use should not be permitted. And we're asking you in this appeal to overturn a ruling that it was appropriate. We respectfully believe tonight that what's happened here is that the use changed after consulting with the county planners and county zoning, from hauling some dirt out, and we've all seen where people take dirt from their property and allow it to be hauled out, to a large-scale industrial rock quarry mining operation, which I am prepared now to show you some aerial photographs of. And I have, counsel, some packets here. May I just pass them around?
Can I say something?
Yep. Can you address one of those statements?
Let me clarify a little something there.
Yes.
When he asked me about the rock, and maybe I didn't make this clear, when David told me that he could haul a rock out there, he asked me, could he haul the rock to Sevier County, at his place in Sevier County, from there and crush it in Sevier. I said, David didn't have a problem with that part. He could haul the rock out there and take it to Sevier County and crush it into gravel and sell it. So that's where we left that.
Does everybody have one? Okay, I want
Do you have
to,
an extra one?
no, I don't. I
You
don't.
got an extra one, sir?
Is there an extra one there?
No, okay.
Looks like I've got
We'll
total
share.
set.
You
Okay.
don't have an extra.
All right. In order to make this as efficient,
No, I'm good.
in order to make this as efficient as possible, what I'd like to do is just walk you very briefly through each of these pages that we've included in the packet. The very top page is a page that shows you a Google Earth aerial view of the site in question that is owned by Whaley Construction. This is the rock quarry operation that is seen from a height directly above the operation. If you look closely at this first page, you will see large, but it appears to be very small, equipment on the site that's being operated. And we're talking excavators, we're talking large construction trucks and hauling trucks and other types of heavy equipment, but they are mere dots on this page because of the site and the magnitude of this site, which is a rock quarry operation. If you look to the second page of your packet, this is a page where the aerial...
I need to hold that up.
Yes.
You're going page to page.
Yes.
And do you have a separate one to put formally in the record, or you just want to use one of ours?
I'm going to use mine.
That's fine.
So on the second page, you will see this one is the one where the dirt is more of a red color. Again, now this is a little closer to the surface, but here we see heavy equipment that is being used in the project, and we would submit that these cranes, these loaders, these large trucks for purposes of hauling the stone out of this site demonstrate the magnitude of this project, and that this is not just a simple, we're going to sell and move some dirt operation. It's morphed into something far, far more than that. The third page, which has a blue sign on it, is a page that was a photo that was taken by one of the Piedmont residents. And this is a sign that was placed up in order to conform to certain requirements of the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. You will see Whaley Construction is written on there, treated mine wastewater into, and it's cut off that on my copy, into receiving station, and then it talks about it has the date is August 18, 2022. Now, I would submit that based on the information that we have, if anyone has information to the contrary, we stand ready to be corrected. We believe that this is the only sign that was posted at any time on this property to give notice to the community that something was about to occur here. And it is simply a water treatment permit notice. There's nothing here indicating that there's going to be any type of explosions or explosive materials being used, but it does refer to a treated mine wastewater and where that wastewater was going to go into. The next page, which is that same sign but with a green background, is just that same picture. The photographer is simply stepped back so that you can see the entire photograph in the picture that follows the one that I had you looking at initially. And this is that sign that was configured on the property back in 2022. The next page, which is from the website of the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, is a page that looks like this. And on that page, there are a couple of things that I would call your attention to. The first is about a third of the way down the page. There is a section in the left-hand column that lists various components regarding the property, and it says permit type, and there it says mining. If you go down to the fourth entry from the bottom of the page and come up from the bottom of the page to the fourth item up that page, it says activity description, and there it says limestone quarry. Now, we would submit to you that these terms, as recognized and defined and promulgated by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation in the permitting process for this particular piece of property, establishes conclusively that this property is not being used for a use that is consistent with A1 zoning. Mining, quarry is inconsistent with that type of use. The next 4 pages of your packet are all similar, and they look like this. This is the white page with the little blue column over on the left-hand side, and I would submit to you that this is a listing of nearby properties close to this quarry. They are listed by parcel number, as those parcels are identified in the Office of the Tax Assessor of Jefferson County, Tennessee. In the column that is just inside the first block, you'll see up at the top it says acres. That's the acreage of each of the parcels of these various members of the Piedmont community that are here tonight asking you to, through their appeal, to reverse the ruling in this property. If you look at the next column, it says zoning. And as you go down that page, the vast majority, all on the first page except for 2 parcels, are A1. There are 2 that are listed as C2. If you go to the next page, all the properties are listed as A1 except for 1 property which is listed as C2. If you go to page 3, all the properties are listed as A1. If you go to the next page, all the properties except 1 are listed as A1. There is 1 C2. You will note on all of these properties that surround what is now this mining operation, virtually all of them predate the mine as far as their ownership. All of them, with the exception of 4 or 5, are A1, and the others are C2. There is not a single not a single piece of property that is zoned as industrial in this area. Now, on that fourth page, page 4 of 4, there are two other things that I would like to call your attention to. If you look over toward the middle column, you will see a land, market, and total market appraisal value. What we have there is from the records of the state of Tennessee and the records of Jefferson County regarding all these parcels of property is valuations of the land market value and the total market value, which includes improvements that may have been built on the land like residences. We find across the state of Tennessee that the property assessors typically value real estate in a very conservative way. Now that's changing some, but as a general rule, the tax assessor appraises property pretty conservative. Often you'll see property selling significantly above the appraised value. But what we see here at a minimum is that the tax assessor in Jefferson County and the assessor process through the state of Tennessee values the total market appraised value of these roughly 100 parcels of property at $12.1 million of investment by hard-working citizens, neighbors, family, and friends in the Piedmont area. $12 million of investment in their homes and property that's now being flooded by dust, bombed with rocks from explosions on this property so that they can haul the rock off the sites. Massive trucks going up and down the roads near Piedmont School. Explosions which are so loud that it surprises and concerns the residents. Explosions for which there is no prior notice. No one says we're going to do an explosion on Saturday or Sunday, we're going to blast on Monday or Tuesday. It just happens. Explosions which literally rock these houses. If you go to the next page, after those 4 pages of property values, you'll have a page that looks like this. And up toward the top, there's a heading that says application type and background information. Now, what we have here is a type of permit, and if you look at the email exchanges that have occurred there, they're between Mr. Lee Yates. You'll see his name on page 2. He is an environmental consultant with the Knoxville Environmental Field Office of the Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation, Division of Water Resources. You will also see a reference to Emily Bonts, B-O-N-T-S, who is with that same Tennessee agency and department. They make clear in the yellow highlighted section right in the middle of the page, they, for the purposes of this permit, are not attempting to regulate the removal of soil and transport off the site. Now, I would suggest to you that when they say we don't regulate soil being transported off the site, it certainly sounds like they were told the same thing that our local folks were. We're going to move soil off the site. They don't mention rock here. But up above, where you see the application type and background information, it makes reference to the submission of a new NPDES application for a limestone quarry and processing facility. Limestone quarry and processing facility. I would submit to you that when we talk about a limestone quarry and the processing of that limestone, that we're talking about an operation that is much more mining than simply transporting loose rock off of the site. We've been told one thing, and then they're doing another in this area. If you go to the next, that's the 2 pages there. Then the next page looks like this. This page is simply property data, tax year 2023, and it lists sources and definitions. And for purposes of brevity, I'm not going to get deep into this page at this time during the appeal, other than to say to you that when you look at the definitions that have been recognized by TDEC pertaining to this property, it is clear they are treating this as a mining operation, and they're requiring water treatment in conjunction with that. The next page is a property data, and it looks like this. a property data reappraisal depiction in kind of a chart type form of the parcel of property that's in question. It started out, we believe, 40 to 50 acres. We believe now that the total amount of property controlled by this is in excess of 100 acres. We believe that under their permit, that I will show to you here shortly, that they're making use for permit purposes of approximately 57 of those acres. If you will go to the next page, again, this is information that is pulled from the Division of Mineral and Geologic Resources Mining section and a public notice related to the particular uses that this property owner is making of this property. These are documents that evidence what the property owner has applied for and obtained from the state of Tennessee. And if you will look about 2/3 of the way down that first block up at the top, where it's right under where it says applicant, Whaley Construction LLC, there is a heading that says description of activity. You see that? Mm-hmm. Where it says description of activity, it says limestone crushed and broken quarrying. Crushed and broken quarrying. Now the hauling of dirt that is loose dirt, or dirt that is simply by excavation loosened and dug up and removed and put on a truck and shipped off for sale, is one thing. The hauling of loose rock from a site is another. Or even the removal of large rocks that are within the site and loading those on a truck and sending them off is another. But when we get to crushing, as this application information says they are doing, and we get to processing and broken quarrying, that means we're going into that rock and we are altering the natural state of that rock by explosions and by treatment of those rocks, and then we're loading them on a truck and shipping them off. That's an entirely different use than what this county was told was going to be done at this piece of property. If you go to the next page, that looks like this. And what we did here is we simply highlighted for your review the definition of agricultural property or agricultural use as promulgated by the state of Tennessee and Tennessee Code Annotated Section 1-3-105. Agriculture means, this is a Tennessee state statute. And I would submit to you that in this definition, there is not room or recognition of the type of use that this property owner is making with this property. This is a definition that comes straight from Tennessee Code Annotated, as passed by the Tennessee legislature and is signed off on by the governor of the state of Tennessee, and it became law. Then the next page is the first of two photographs. This is the rock that just a couple of weeks ago, as the result of an explosion, flew from the property of Whaley Construction, crossed the property line of one of the witnesses that will testify here tonight. He was out mowing on his property, and this rock landed approximately 25 feet from where he stood at that time. That first picture shows the rock beside his foot, and it shows the indented area where the rock landed in his field. The second picture is the rock within the indention. That's the picture of his wife's foot there for comparative purposes. And then the third photograph is another photograph, again, of the rock after it's pulled out of the indention there. And he will testify that he saw this happen and land on his property while he was mowing. Now, thank the good Lord that he was not hit, that no one else was hit, that no property was damaged, because it could have been devastating damage or even death as a result. But this is what's happening out there. So we would submit this copy as evidence in this case on our appeal. Mr. Drennan, you want? Okay. We would ask that you consider those documents. Now this, yes. Yes, collective one. The second document is the actual issuance of NPDES permit Tennessee 0070699 new. This was a new permit that was issued at the request of Whaley Construction. Now this is approximately 40 pages long. I brought one copy of it for the purpose of making it an exhibit. I'm going to hand that to Mr. Drennan at this time. I may have handed you mine, Mr. Drennan. No, I didn't. You got the right one. I would submit to you that this is actually the permit that this property owner, Whaley Construction, received from the state of Tennessee. It's approximately almost 40 pages in length. It is replete with references to mining operation, to quarry operation. It is replete with references to construction type uses and the treatment of water, which is what TDEC in this particular instance was concerned with and had jurisdiction to regulate. But within the permit itself, on page 18 of 20, now there's multiple things within this permit, but Mr. Brennan, if you'll look a few pages in, it starts numbering them in the upper right-hand portion. And as you come over to page 18 of 20, it starts making reference to mine, and it defines mine as an area of land, surface, or underground which is used for the development of a natural resource. Such areas include any adjacent land, the uses of which are incidental to such mining activities, including excavations, workings, impoundments, dams, dumps, stockpiles, overburden piles, holes or depressions, repair areas, storage areas, and other areas which are sited structures or other property or materials on the surface resulting from or incidental to such activities referencing mining. The term mine also includes all lands affected by the construction of new roads or the improvements or use of existing roads except maintained public roads to gain access to the site of such activities and for haulage. It's clear that TDEC was considering this property as a mining operation and regulated it as such, looked at the water uses as such, and put in place an NPDES permit to put restrictions on the use of water on this site in relation to a mining operation.
Do you want them to review it?
If they would, yes, if they would like.
I mean, you've only got one copy, so go ahead.
Yes. So we would file this also as further evidence that what we have here is not an agricultural use. It is not consistent with Jefferson County's defined provisions for agricultural use of a piece of property in any manner whatsoever. And we would submit that as exhibit number 2.
Page 18, 18 to 20.
With those documents at this point, what I would like to do is make a brief presentation of witness testimony. We're going to do our very best not to be redundant or repetitive. We're going to do our best to let each of these witnesses tell you something just a little different of their experiences with this. But I would begin by calling Mr. Steve Tomborello to come and speak as a witness in this matter.
Spell that.
I think I've got this right. T-O-M. T-A-M.
B-O-R-E-L-L-O.
All right, Mr. Tomborello, would you state your full name for us, please?
Stephen Tamborello.
Can you tell the members of this board where you live?
I live at 1369 West Highway 2570. My property is adjacent to the mine.
Okay. And when did you purchase your property?
In May of 21.
At the time that you purchased your property in May of 2021, was there any mine operation here?
Zero.
Was there any quarry operation here?
None.
The photographs that we have shown as aerial depictions of this property, what did that property look like just if you had seen it from an aerial at the time you purchased your property?
At the time, it was just covered in trees.
Okay. Now, when you came to Jefferson County, where did you come from?
Chicago.
Chicago's a long way from Jefferson County.
Absolutely
How did
is.
you end up here?
We came down, visited my brother-in-law and my sister, and fell in love with the place. And we found this property and we bought it. A place to, retire to live out our lives.
How many acres do you have?
I have 22 acres.
And when you bought the property, did you, from that time, make improvements to it?
Absolutely. We've spent over $200,000 remodeling the house.
And have you located your family there?
Absolutely have.
Is that your permanent residence now?
Yes.
When you bought the property, did you make any inquiry of or have any knowledge of the type of zoning that your property had or the type of classification of use that your property had there as agricultural one?
I knew it was zoned agricultural because we have an agricultural exemption.
Okay. And did you see any other properties in the immediate vicinity that were zoned as industrial?
No, none.
Or that were making use of their properties, to your knowledge, in a way that would be an industrial type use?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you choose this property because it was agricultural in part?
We chose it because it was quiet. There's no neighbor to my left or my right. Now we do have neighbors, and they're big construction equipment.
So I want to ask you now, I want to go specifically to an event. Was there an event that occurred at your property recently that has any relation to this rock quarry operation?
There was. About 3 weeks ago, I was out mowing on our back pasture, and it was probably about 5:45 at night, and heard a big boom, and ground started shaking, and I stopped, and a rock comes flying over the trees and lands 20 feet in front of me.
Did you see the rock with your eyes?
Absolutely. I brought it with me.
Can you hold it up for us so that everyone here can see it?
It's not small, and you're welcome to hold it. It's almost 8 pounds, and this landed 20 feet from me.
Did it alarm you?
It scared the hell out of me.
And when that happened, what was your first reaction?
I knew what it was. I mean, I knew where it came from. It ticked me off. I know there's other rocks throughout the property you've come, but there's no warning when they're gonna blast, so you have no idea what's going on. My property line runs probably 1,000 feet alongside the mine, and there's zero. I'm not gonna stop going out in my property and enjoying the property that we bought, but this is what we gotta face. And if I gotta wear a football helmet to keep from getting killed out there, that's ridiculous.
When you purchased do you have children?
I do. I have a daughter.
Who lives at this property?
My wife and myself. My daughter's in college.
Okay, so you and your wife are living there now?
Yes.
Other than this incident, when you heard an explosion, you looked up and saw this rock landing on your property about 25 feet from you, is that the only explosion you ever heard?
No, we hear them all the time, and we've had some large mirrors knocked off of our walls. The whole house shakes because we're that close to where they're mining.
Do they give you any warning by sound, by notice, by any type of communication whatsoever?
There's no notice, no nothing. You'll hear every now and then, if you're really listening, you can hear a horn, but it's faint, and then the next thing you know, the blast happens.
In addition to the sound pollution that you've got as a result of the mining operation, are there other impacts on you and your property that come from the mining operation?
Absolutely. Everything's covered in dust. Really, the barbed wire fence that we have running the whole length of the property has breaks throughout it because when all the trees along the line are starting to die, and as they die, they just fall right on our property. So they're not taking care of that side. They put up some signs along the fences on the trees on their side of the property that say no trespassing. That's about all they do. They don't care about the effects on our property.
You indicated some impacts within your home. the rattling of things, knocking pictures you said off the wall. How often does that occur?
Every time there's a blast. I mean, we've lost 3 or 4 pictures off the wall, and we lost a mirror that was about 80 pounds ripped out of the wall as well. So it's just, you can't really enjoy it. We don't sit out on the front porch because it's literally, they say they're not crushing rock with a traditional crusher. They have some sort of a jackhammer that's going all day long, from sun up to sundown, at least 6 days a week, sometimes on Sunday. If it happens to rain during the week and they can't work, they're there on Sunday.
What about dust?
Dust coats everything. I refuse to wash my truck anymore. It's a waste of time. Within an hour of me getting home, it's covered in dust again.
Mr. Tamburello, we're almost finished with your testimony. So that this board will know, what do you do for a living?
I work at the University of Tennessee. I manage the dining program for all the students on the campus. I have 800 employees, and I work long days. When I come home, I want to enjoy the property. I enjoy mowing. It's kind of my stress relief. But this puts stress right back into it.
Look at that.
Absolutely.
Mr. Tamburello, who is your employer?
I work for Aramark.
Aramark Corporation?
Yes.
And is that company engaged in food service providing to college campuses and other institutions across the country?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been with that company?
About 2.5 years now.
And what is your job title there?
I'm the resident district manager for the University of Tennessee.
All right. And how many students does Aramark feed in the course of a given week or any period of time?
We do about 30,000 meals a day.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
They may have questions.
Yes.
Be sure you're speaking into your microphone.
Blasting going on. I assume they have a permit to blast, do they? You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. Have you checked with the Tennessee Department of Environment to see if they have a blasting permit?
I have not, no.
Okay.
Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation doesn't govern blasting per se.
But mining does.
But mining does, and it's our understanding that they do have a blasting permit through that agency.
Okay.
Yes.
And with that, I think there are guidelines, in other words, whenever they do a blast, that if they're within so many feet, I think, of a property, that they're supposed to notify the people doing that. Sir, but you say they haven't notified you at one time?
I think there's gray area because it says, I've read the same thing. It's within 500 feet of a building structure. My home is probably maybe 800 feet from my property line, but I'm out in the property, not always in my house. That's the difference. So I think that's a very thin line they're playing with.
I was just curious if you had filed any complaints with them in regards to this incident here.
No, the one that recently, no.
Okay.
Not yet.
Any others? Have you filed complaints with any others on the blasting?
I have not.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay. Mr. Tamburello, thank you very much.
I would call as next witness Mike Asbury.
Would you state your full name, please?
Brian Michael Asbury,
And where do you live?
1122 West Dumpling Valley Road.
Mr. Asbury, how close is your property to this mining operation?
I guess if you just measure boundary to boundary as close as you can get, maybe 250 feet, 300 feet. I've got Dumpling Valley Road and some other property and then 2570 between us.
Prior to the time that this mining operation located and began quarry activities on this particular site, were you notified that there was going to be such a use contemplated of that property?
No.
Set aside for just a moment the sign that's depicted in that packet, have you seen any other signs, notices, or notifications indicating that this type of use was going to be made at this property?
No.
Do you hear the blasting from your home?
Yes.
Can you describe it to the members of this board?
Well, if you're outside, sometimes you can hear the horn he's talking about, and then you can hear the crackle of the detonator's going off, it sounds like static, and then you hear you know what's coming, you know the whoomps coming, and you get the vibration, and then you get the compression off of the site. There's two components to a blast. And if you're in the house, you don't hear anything until the house rattles, the house starts shaking, and the dishes rattle in the cabinet. It's pretty annoying to have your dishes rattle.
Have you experienced any damage inside your house or anything being knocked off a wall or a counter or anything else?
No, not quite that bad.
Okay. And go ahead.
I was going to say about filing the complaints. I have filed 4 or 5 complaints with the state, and it's through the Department of Insurance on that. The blasting, I think it's more into the fire marshal than anybody else. And so they, so far, have said they've come back. And now, the mining people are the ones that are responsible for monitoring their blast and maintaining their records, and they hire somebody to do that. So you got to depend on them to put the sensors in there to do it right, and they monitor 2 components, the shaking and the noise from the blast. So.
Has anyone from this company, Whaley Construction, this mining operation, ever come to you and said, hey, we just want to be a good neighbor and inquire, is anything we can do to help?
No.
Okay. Are you asking this board to overturn the decision to allow this use of this property?
Yes.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm retired, but before that I'm a licensed PE in the state of Tennessee. I work for Engineering Services Group.
And when you say PE, professional engineer?
Yes.
All right. And in your communications with representatives of the state of Tennessee, have any of them denied to you that this is a mining operation?
No.
Have any of them denied to you that this is a rock quarry operation?
No.
All right. And from the standpoint of your property, other than the noise, have you experienced any other type of pollution that's impacted you and your property?
Well, it's primarily the noise and then dust, and it's an aggravation. I mean, it's just a whole aggravation. And I know it's the road. Well, that's the people talk about they want to be good neighbors. So if you look here, here's dust coming off the road where they come out. Here's where they come out, more dust. This is back up when they're drilling. This is dust off of the rock drill where they're drilling. And then if you look right here, I don't know how good you can see it, but this is where they come out, and you can see, if you can see from back there, these little dots, that's rocks they leave laying on the road.
Sediment?
No, not sediment. I'm talking about rocks about like this.
Okay.
You can see rocks about like this laying on the road. So no, it's not good for safety, is it?
Let's submit this to the board as a exhibit.
The other thing I've heard y'all talking about is the dirt removal. So here's a little dirt removal. Y'all probably seen this on 92. This is one's on the left. The first one, if you're going from Dandridge to Jefferson City. This one's on the left, and it's a little operation. This one's a little further past it. It's on the right. And you look at the difference. This one doesn't have any erosion control. This is less than an acre. That's greater than an acre. Anything over an acre has to have erosion control, and it's permitted by TDEC, but not the same bunch that does the mines. It's a different outfit that does that. We need to submit that too.
I don't think we have to do that. And then this one, can you hold this one up and tell the members of the board what these photos depict?
Okay. This is just we flew over the thing and took a picture. These two are just pictures where we flew over the site and took pictures. And then this is the permit allows them to treat the water and dispose of it. Well, what they do is there's a sinkhole over there, and that's called an injection well. If you've heard the term injection well, that's where they dump water in a sinkhole. So it goes right straight into the ground.
Let's submit that as the next exhibit, please.
Hang on one
Yes.
second. Chair, can you
It was
When you say you flew over it, is that drone footage or?
No, a friend of mine has an airplane. He took me over it and I took pictures.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Asbury?
Where does the water come from?
Well, I'm sure if they're digging, they maybe have some springs and whatnot, groundwater, but they also have to put some water on there to wash, they have a screener to sort the rock with, and so they may put water on there for that. I noticed today I saw the big, it's a really big water truck going on to the site.
I was going to say, are they bringing water in?
Yeah, it looks like they're bringing water in, but it doesn't seem to do any good.
Well,
I mean, it helps some for a little while. You can see that truck go in with the sprinkler truck went in and the dump truck come out and the dust comes out on the highway. So they're not putting enough water out.
Since you introduced it to him, let them look at them.
Yes.
Just keep them up there.
Yes. Just stay right here for a minute as they look at those in case they have any questions.
Question. Mr. Asbury, on the injection well, are they required to have a permit to be able to do that?
That's what that permit he's talking about, yes.
So they have a permit to put that into the sinkhole?
They do.
Okay,
That's an accepted treatment, what form of treatment.
okay.
And the previous pictures that came around, rock debris in the road, who's cleaning that up? Is that a reoccurring thing? Is it staying
Clean it up
there?
from time to time. I don't know how frequently.
Well, you can't.
Okay. Anyway, Barry came in here, you can ask him more about that. So they must bring the truck up, or bring in one of the, you've seen the big brooms that go on the front of a tractor. They must bring that out and sweep it off the side of the road. I don't know if they sweep it up or if they just sweep it off the side of the road. Because you can go up there sometimes, the road will be clean, and then down on the side of the road there'll be rock piled up. Pick the bigger rocks up. I have gone up there and got pictures of rocks that's about this big, about the same size as that picture, is just laying on the side of the road. And you can tell when those trucks come out and make the turn, there's a lot more debris on this side of the road than on the inside of the road, because when they swing out there, that the centrifugal force slings the stuff. I don't know if it's coming off the top of the trucks or off the sides of the trucks, or where it's coming off, how it's coming off the trucks, where it's falling off. But most of the time when they come out there, they don't have the tarps back, and I don't think that their state law says they don't. There's an exception to when they have to put the tarps back, as opposed to when they leave them forward when they're hauling. So,
is this a shadow or is that water?
that's a shadow.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Any other questions for Mr. Asbury?
Yes, Mr. Asbury. On the dust there, because I think that they were required, because of this operation, that they have to have a permit and they have to meet certain standards for air quality.
Yes.
Do you know if there are any times when the state has inspected them for this? Have they failed that?
They have there. I don't know if the state's inspected or not. I've called to the state people that do the air permits, and what they say is it's okay if you see dust. It's like you got to call and tell them you see dust. Okay. If they're coming from Knoxville, how long is dust going to hang around? I mean, these people usually don't. It's not a continuous stream. It's over and over and over. There'll be a great big puff come up and a big plume will float across the site. So there's no point in calling Knoxville and complaining. And they'll come out. The way they come out and measure it is they measure for an hour and they look at a 10-minute period of the opacity of the air that comes through. And so it's kind of hard to get a complaint on dust. It's hard to get a complaint on blasting.
Is that their standard procedures when for the amount of time that they measure for?
Yes, that's what he said. A 10-minute period of an hour during an hour.
Okay.
They don't come out and put a machine out and monitor for a week or whatever.
Okay.
Apparently.
I know you've already stated this, but would you tell me the distance again you are from it? That was what you opened with, but I didn't catch all of it. So,
if I get on Google and do property to property line, it's probably 250 feet, maybe 300 feet. But,
You said property?
Yards.
Property
line to property line is 250 yards, maybe. If you look at from the house over into the center of the side, it's probably 300 or 400, 500 yards. And it depends on, a lot of times they're working on this end of the side or they're working on that end of the side.
Do you know, as far as the dust that's on the road and the rock debris there, as far as that goes, has TDOT cited them in any form or fashion for that debris being on the road? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
The only citation that we're aware of is a citation for the failure to maintain the required records for a certain period of time.
Okay.
And that's the only citation that we have found at this point.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to start sending TDOT pictures. Maybe they'll come up and take a look.
I was just curious just to see if they had looked at this problem. So, okay.
Would it not cause damage to the road as much traffic in the weight of those trucks?
That's a state highway.
That's a TDOT question.
Yeah, state question.
You'll know at the end of summer.
Yeah.
Mr. Asbury, just a few quick questions. Your lawyer had asked you if anyone at the state had denied that the use was a quarry, or at anyone at the state denied that it was a mine. My question to you is, with respect to the state, has anyone at the state told you that they considered it a mine or a quarry?
Well, everything that they've sent me, that I've gotten when I swap back emails back and forth with them and this stuff, they pretty much call it a mine.
But that's what I'm saying. He had asked you if anyone had denied that it was a quarry or denied that it was a mine. My question is,
No, they've never.
has anybody at the state, I'm sorry, has anybody at the state told you that the state considered it a mine or a quarry?
Just by what's in there, some of the stuff they said in the email, that it was, they look at it as a mine. You know, I've got some emails that talk about it as a mine. They sent me definitions and whatnot.
Those documents are in
With respect to the equipment or the machinery that's used out there, have you actually seen any of it, and do you know what it is? In other words, like, we've got the aerials of some equipment that's out there. Do you, and I forgot to ask, hang on one second, I forgot to ask Mr. Tamborello as well. Do you know what kind of equipment or machinery is being used on the site?
I know there's a rock drill there. I've got pictures of that.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
A rock drill.
Okay.
They drill the sheet, you know, a rock drill. There's several, several backhoes, big track backhoes, you know, one with the hydraulic hammer on them to bust the rock up with. There are the big, what they call them shot rock trucks, the big off-road trucks, the big yellow trucks, you know, to haul the rock and dirt around with on the site that they move around. There's bulldozer. You can hear that thing clack, 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 clack. I mean, it's a big Caterpillar bulldozer. Trucks, bulldozers, backhoes, and the drill. And then they got lots of maintenance trucks running around. And then the big water truck.
Thank you.
Oh, they have a sorter. It's in that picture there.
Hang on one second. Did you say a sorter?
Yes.
Okay.
What they do is they dump, okay, in this picture right here, if you look right up there in that area, they sort rock with that. They dump in rock, and you can see there's conveyor belts come off in 2 or 3 different directions, and different rocks come up.
Be sure that they know what you're pointing at.
Can y'all see it?
Yep.
And it might be better on some of those other pictures. So they sort it there too. That comes into processing.
Thank you.
Can I?
We have one more question.
Okay. On the sorter, because I have a question here. Don't they have to have an extra thing in there when they list for their permit saying that they're going to have a sorter, and that at that point in time that they may have to have extra permits for air quality and dust control?
Well, in their permit, if you look on page 18 of 20, item 22, processing facility, if you don't believe me, he'll confirm it. Processing facility is all or any part of the process involved in treating a mineral or raw material to improve properties and or remove impurities. Processing may include any or all of the following: sizing, screening, crushing, separating, and washing.
I think he may have, and I want to speak for him, I think he was asking if if they did have to have a separate
No,
permit for the sorter, and if so, do they have one, or separator?
no, they got one permit.
Okay, thank you.
And I know that the water treatment people have been there, the water treatment people have been there and checked the site at my request a time or two.
Does that satisfy you, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I would call at this point Peggy Hypes. Would you state your full name, please?
Margaret Ann, otherwise known as Peggy Hypes,
Ms. Hypes, where do you live?
1231 McGuire Road,
How long have you lived there?
about 50 years,
How long has that property been in your family?
about 50 years.
All right. And how close are you in proximity to the mining operation that we're talking about at this site?
I don't know exactly, but I know if I go by road from the entrance 1 mile, but as the crow flies, it would be less than a mile.
All right. Have you heard the blasts?
Absolutely,
Has that impacted your use of your property?
yes,
Have you experienced dust?
yes,
And is it continuous?
absolutely.
And can you give the board some description of the pervasiveness of that dust?
Not being a wonderful housekeeper, I probably dust it every couple of weeks. If I don't dust every day now, there's a layer on everything, which means it's coming through our system, our HVAC system. And they're about to come out and evaluate the air conditioning and the heating system because it has been clogging up with this dust. I'm having to change the filters twice a month instead of once a month. And so it's pervasive everywhere.
Ms. Hypes, in addition to the dust, have you experienced any warnings that have been given to you before the explosions occurred?
None. None. And my son's opinion was, it sounds like something has hit the house and just shakes the house, and you're looking for an airplane or a car, something that's collided with your home.
There was a witness that testified a few moments ago of items falling off the wall or off of tables, other things within the house. Have you experienced any of that?
Some of that, yes.
Can you tell us about any specifics there?
I can tell you that when the explosion goes off, it's totally unknown that it's going to happen. And we have had things like fall off the counter, small things. We haven't had any large things like they had, but definitely small things.
All right. Did you have any advance notice that there was going to be a mining operation at this location before it was there?
I did not. And when I realized what it was, that it was more than what we thought it was going to be, I went to the zoning office and spoke with the people there, and they told me, oh no, it will not be a quarry, it will not be a mine, it's agricultural zoning. We've told the people who first came in and inquired that they could not do a quarry or a mine. And he said, so they're not doing it. I said, have you been out there to see what it is? Because I consider it to be a quarry. And they said, no, we haven't been out there recently. I said, I suggest you go out and look and listen. Whether they did or not, I don't know. They also gave me all the information to call in Nashville and check on the water and check on what permits they had. And it was clear, it was pretty clear to me that they were doing quarry or mining and not saying that's what they were doing.
But as you come before this board tonight and ask this board to reconsider the decision that was made to allow this use on this property, are you complaining about whether they have permits from the state of Tennessee or not? Or are you complaining about whether or not their use of this property is consistent with A1 zoning as defined by Jefferson County, Tennessee? Which one?
The latter.
Okay.
I would also contest that what they claimed they were going to do initially is not what they're doing. So why in the world would we give permission to them to do something more destructive? Where will they go with that? Because they're not doing what they thought they were doing.
Thank you, Ms.
And I
Hines.
have lived there 50 years. I have never had any leaks in my foundation. This year, for the first time, we had a leak in the home, in the foundation. We have 4 homes on the property. 2 of us are on a well. The well water has, within the last year, started to smell like and taste like sulfur. So I don't believe in coincidence. 50 years, and these things have never happened before, and all of a sudden they're blasting, and we're getting these repercussions. So why award dishonesty?
Any questions, Ms. Hines?
Did you get your water tested to see if it was?
We're about to have it tested.
Okay. All right. And then the other one was is that the question is that was presented to us was that basically we're looking at this as a quarry and a mining operation, and we're looking at a lot of times of what basically we're looking for what the state of Tennessee is classifying this as. Okay. But if you ask the state of Tennessee in regards to zoning, as far as that goes, they will leave the zoning up to the local board to make that decision, okay? I think in our case, we basically don't have a definition for what mining and quarrying is, and so we may have to fall back on other means to come up with our definition to make that determination of what mining and quarrying is. Zoning relation may not necessarily be the same definition the way that the state of Tennessee in the mining and everything looks at that same definition. So when my thing is that when I think the first decision may have been made by Mr. Seals as far as that goes, they may have looked at that, okay? Circumstances may change, okay, as far as that goes. But I think here in that, when we're looking at the definitions and what the state of Tennessee looks at them as far as from mining and TDEC and air quality control and everything else, that may not necessarily be the definition of mining or quarrying that's available through zoning. Oh yeah, the question. Well, that was my question. Is that when you found the leak in your, I guess the separation in your foundation, okay? Did you have anyone come out and look at that and review that?
That was just recently in one of the rainstorms, and so no, we have not been able to get anyone to come out and look at it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question, and Mr. Hurley, this may be something that you can answer, but it's pertaining to her residence and the location thereof. Is Mr. Asbury's closer in proximity to, so it's surpassing Mr. Asbury's to get to her? She's further out.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, she's further out, but I wouldn't say that, I don't think his property is between you and the quarry, though, is it? In other words, if you...
No, not a straight
So, Mr.
line.
Asbury's property is one direction, her property is another direction from the quarry, but she is farther away.
Okay, farther distance.
Yes.
And forgive me, but Sandy's husband and their property, they're closer as well.
They are.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, Ms. Hines? Thank you, Ms. Hines.
Thank you.
And last witness, last witness of the Piedmont property owner is Ms. Tina Ball. Would you state your full name, please?
Tina Ball,
Where do you live?
1260 West Highway 2570.
And who do you live with at that location?
My husband.
And how long have you all lived there?
14, 15 years.
Okay, did you buy that property?
We did.
Okay, so you didn't inherit the property?
No, we bought it. We had grandchildren there. Went to Piedmont Elementary School at the time, so.
Okay. How far is your property from the mining location?
We're less than 300, but we're probably about the same distance as they are, but we're at the main road.
Okay, all right. Can you tell the board the impacts that have occurred at your property?
Oh, well, when they do the blasting, even if they do the alarms, what good's that going to do? They're going to blast anyway. They're doing the blasting, the houses shake. We own 2 houses, and one of them, we don't even go down there when they do the blasting because we're afraid of what damage is going to be there. My grandchildren are out in the yard playing. They think bombs have exploded, the earth is exploding, you know. So to me, this is it's ridiculous.
Has the dust impacted your property?
The dust is so bad at times when they do the blasting. I come out in the backyard to play with my grandchildren. My husband's working in the garden, and I can see it coming across the treetops. I can taste the dust. I can smell dust. I mean, it's so thick. You think, oh gosh, it's, you know, if there's a fire in the neighborhood, their family, their father, my husband visits him, he says, oh, there's a fire. He says, no, there's not a fire. It's the dust. You look down the road toward the quarry, the dust is so thick, you see the car taillights disappear into the dust. I've told you guys this many times. I mean, this is not, it's a constant. The dust in the house is ridiculous. Like she said, change the filters 2-3 times a month because of the dust. I mean, it's nonstop.
Before this quarry operation started, were you given any notice?
No, I was told when I spoke to someone at council that they would notify the neighbors of any change in this community. And they said, about newspaper. I said, well, I don't take the newspaper. They said, well, will you be notified by mail? Well, I'm still waiting for that letter, that notification. I'm still waiting for it.
You did not receive any notice?
No.
Of a change?
No.
Okay. Any questions? If not, one other, Mr. Meadows, if you would come forward.
There was something I was going to say. Oh, about the Tennessee, the state. If anyone at the state has said that this is actually a quarry, yes, they told me. I spoke with, I believe his name was Mr. Lawrence, and he told me on at least 2 occasions that this is a quarry. By state definition, it is a quarry, and he said specifically that our zoning board can send someone up to the quarry and stop the operation if it is deemed unfit for the community. But the state does say that it is a quarry.
Thank you. Mr. Meadows.
Bill Meadows.
And Mr. Meadows, where do you live?
1044 West Dumpling Valley Road.
Who lives there with you?
It's me, my wife, and 3 children.
And what are the ages of the children?
They're 6. I've got triplet boys.
Triplet boys. Where do they go to school?
They go to school at Piedmont Elementary.
And how do they get there?
We walk to school. Weather allowed.
All right, weather allowed, you walk. Do you walk with them?
When I can.
All right, you or your wife one typically walks with them?
Yeah, or she drops them off one.
How has the blasting coming off of that side impacted you and your family?
Well, the house shakes and the kids ask if we just had an earthquake. To grow up in this house that's been in the family for well over 100 years, and you know, I get concerned about living in a 120-year-old home that's being shaken of blasts, and you know that, like I said, the kids ask if we just had an earthquake, and then.
Have you had anything fall off the walls or off any cabinets or tables or things of that nature, just general shaking?
Just the shaking. And
have you had any problem with dust from the side?
Well, I worry about my kids breathing it. Just they have, just in the last 6 months, they've had to start taking allergy shots, all 3 of them. 2 of them have tested weakened immune systems for respiratory illness. They're having to get extra booster shots, so I worry about them being exposed to dust that's in the air.
What do you do for a living?
I'm like a programmer. My title is Senior Application Developer, Technical Lead. Work for 21st Mortgage, doing software.
You are a lifetime Jefferson County resident?
Yes, sir.
All right. And your predecessors in your family resided on that property?
Yes, sir.
And it's 5th generation?
My children, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Anything else as far as impact from this that you want to tell this board about?
Well, just last week it was TCAP exams for the school, and there was so much noise going at the time. Like I went out and I took a recording from the front steps of the elementary school to have to send to the school board, and it was just constant all day long from 7 in the morning until I think it was 7 at night. Lots of hammering, lots of the dump trucks, just it was constant crashing and hammering, and that's got to be affecting the school.
Any questions of Mr. Meadows?
Mr. Meadows, on your weakened immune system and allergy shots that have to start for your kids, did your doctors think that was from the dust?
It's I don't think they could say that conclusively.
Okay.
I mean, it's I'm
Okay.
I wouldn't even.
Were they bothered with allergies before?
We noticed it getting worse, and so then they had to go to allergy shots. But not all of them were. There was only one of them that was actually had a sick. I guess had issues before.
And now they all three do?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Mr. Meadows, thank you. And last, as far as witnesses, I'd like to ask just a couple of questions of Mr. Seals.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple of questions for you. At the time that you learned of the interest of Whaley Construction in making a use of this site, a commercial type of use, did you sit down and have Whaley Construction provide to you in writing a detailed list of what they intended to do, or did they voluntarily provide you with that?
No, when I what they were going to do, that's when I got David involved.
Okay, so you got David involved, and you all started, as I understand it, to make some contact with the state of Tennessee.
He did, yes.
He started to make some contact with the state of Tennessee?
He did.
So reference was just made a few minutes ago about whether or not there were sufficient definitions within the zoning ordinance or regulations of Jefferson County to address this situation. I would like to ask you, and I have it here if you would like to see it, coming out of the zoning resolution for Jefferson County dated August 17, 1998, section 9.91, 9.9 is a definition of industrial district. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
And under the subcategory A, permitted uses, one of those is item 4, A4. Would you, if you've got it, would you tell the board what that definition, that specific definition is within I-1 Industrial District?
What page?
That would be, well, I don't know.
Oh, here we go.
52.
Which one? Number 4?
9.9.
Mining?
4.
Yeah, mining.
Mining, okay. So if there is a property that is a mining use, then that would typically fall within I-1 Industrial District, is that correct?
And that's what I told him. If he crushed it down there, it would have to be industrial.
Have you reviewed, like, for example, and I know Mr. Drennan had a packet and he was passing those to you. You saw some of the documents that we obtained.
Yes, sir.
Had you ever seen those documents before
No, sir.
tonight?
No.
Did you see the references within the TDEC permit to this use and to this user that this was a mining operation?
I did see that, yes, sir.
And were you aware of that before tonight?
From the state, no.
Okay. Whether Jefferson County wants to call it mining or not, the one thing we can agree on is that if it is mining, then it's an industrial use under the Jefferson County zoning resolution, correct?
As I told them.
Okay. And when folks from the Piedmont community came to you and started to express concerns and questions regarding this property and this particular use, did you initially tell them that it was your understanding that what was going to be initially being processed from this site was dirt being removed and transported out?
At first, in 21 or 22, I did. Because his first initial thing was he wanted to clear the dirt and the rock out of there and one day make that commercial property, maybe move his business from Sevier County up there. Which I said, you possibly could do that with commercial, but no way he was ever going to get industrial here.
Right.
And so that's when he asked if he could move the rock in Sevier County.
And from the standpoint of removing dirt and rock from the site, did he tell you in the initial visit, or let's say in the first few months of visit, that one of the things that he intended to do was to blast rock out of the site?
No,
Okay, with whom?
from the state.
All right, did
Which-
you see that?
Yeah, I didn't, I didn't have anything to do with that. That was state. We didn't have any kind of permit here for that.
Did you see that permit?
No, I never saw it, no.
Did you later research?
But I told, he knew he couldn't crush rock there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you later research or do any investigation to see if he had applied for blasting?
No, I did not.
Okay, all right. Are there other uses besides mining uses that would be on any agricultural site property in Jefferson County, A1 property? Any other property owners or property uses that engage in blasting other than this one?
I'm sure the mines do. They've been blasting for years.
Well, they're mining though, right?
Yeah, they
Okay.
do.
And how are they classified? How's their property classified?
I-1.
Pardon?
I-1.
I-1.
Yes, sir.
So my question specifically is about A1. Are you aware of any other property in Jefferson County, Tennessee, where the property owner makes a use that involves blasting that's on an A1 property?
Not that I'm aware of.
This is the only one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No further questions of this witness?
Would you like to ask him questions? You can do it if he's, are you?
I just want to make a final little statement at the end. 1 minute.
You can ask him now or after he gets done with this stuff.
Okay. Does Jefferson County require a grading permit?
Nope.
No. Okay, so when an individual wants to do grade work or remove rock or dirt on their property, there is no permit that's required from them, is that correct?
No, correct.
Okay, that's my only question.
Okay, just a brief closing statement. First of all, we sincerely thank you, humbly thank you for your attention tonight. You've certainly, with your questions and with your attention, have indicated an interest in this. And in closing, I would make this comment from the proof that's been submitted. What you have before you tonight is a decision on an appeal about the use of this property. You have just heard testimony from a county employee that is charged with responsibilities in zoning that this property owner did not initially tell Jefferson County that blasting would occur as a part of this operation. You've also heard uncontroverted testimony from the same witness indicating that there is not another single piece of property in Jefferson County on which blasting is occurring. You've also heard uncontroverted testimony tonight that of all the properties surrounding this property, that they're all either A1 or about approximately 5 commercial sites, none of them involved in industrial property. You also can tell virtually all of these property owners were there with homes, farms, residences, and their lives before Whaley Construction arrived and started this operation that includes blasting, taking of drills and drilling these rocks, and then removing these rocks in large, massive quantities from this site. We would respectfully submit to you that this property owner came to Jefferson County, was not forthright, was not candid, was not straightforward about what they intended to do with this property, and got their foot in the door, or as one might say, their nose under the tent, to start a use for this property that they quickly then grew to something very, very different than what they started out. And in doing so, misled this county, the officials in this county, and caused a situation where you now have an industrial operation on this property that is in an A1 property classification. If, for purposes of discussion tonight, this board elects not to reverse this decision, to reject this appeal, then what this board is going to do is something that has been done for the first time in the history of this county. on one specific piece of property in this county, for one property owner who was not honest and forthright with this county, and to the detriment of people who have lived in this community all of their lives, one of them as much as 5 generations, and to people who have invested over, based on these appraisals, close to $13 million in their properties. You heard one, the very first witness tonight, say, after I bought my property, it was A1, I loved it, thought it was beautiful, and I reached into my pocket and I invested over $200,000 in upgrading that piece of property, only to find out a few months later that an industrial use was going to be next door and it was going to be blasting rock, one of which you saw tonight. We would respectfully ask you to reverse the previous decision, do what ought to be done in this particular situation, and protect the property rights of these people who have done it the right way, who have lived here proudly, and who have paid their taxes, farmed their properties, grown their families, do the right thing by these Jefferson County residents. Thank you.
Jordan to weigh in or not.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know that I have a lot to add. I think they have made their case to you all. You know, I was not the planner at that time, so it's hard for me to really go back and, other than what's been said tonight about the decisions that were made and how they were made, I think it's for you all to consider what they presented here. We do not define mining in our zoning ordinance, as has been talked about, but it's only allowed in I-1. That is, both of those things are true. So I think you have to, this board has to decide whether this is an industrial scale mining operation or not.
I have a question. Okay. Has the state of Tennessee given us a definition as far as zoning of what mining and quarrying is?
They have quarrying.
Okay. In that definition of quarrying that is there for the zoning, is everything as we've been told that they are doing, is that a violation of that zoning definition of that, or is it illegal use?
Where's that definition of, you got it, okay. The extraction, removal, and mechanized processing of stone, gravel, phosphate, rock, metallic ore, limestone, marble, chert, sand, dimension stone, and any other solid mineral, or substance of commercial value except coal and deep metal mining, including but not limited to zinc found in natural deposits in the earth.
Can I see that again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just leave that over here.
Yeah, and just you have to decide based upon the proof. You understand that you are just like a judge or a jury in a court case. You hear the evidence, you weigh it just like they would, and what you have to decide tonight is whether or not the decision that the use was permitted, and based on the proof presented tonight, whether it is permitted in the A1 zone, whether it is a quarry or a mine, and that use is not permitted in A1, or whether it's some other use that is permitted in A1 based on Tim's decision. So you're acting just like, they call it a quasi-judicial board. So you're weighing the evidence just like a judge would, and based on that, you determine whether or not Tim's decision, which was the use was permitted, is a permitted use in the A1 zone. Mr. Reno had asked whether or not there was a definition of quarrying. There is a definition of quarrying specifically laid out. I believe it's 13.7.101 for the purposes of zoning regulations in the state. I didn't see one in the same set with respect to mining. However, evidence has been presented tonight with respect to what the definition of mining was or is. So that's a decision you all have to decide. You weigh the proof and you determine whether or not Tim's decision was, that the use was permitted, is permitted, or you overturn that decision and say that the use that is going on out there is not.
Wouldn't our regulations be even stricter than the state? 'Cause we all know how at the state, they wouldn't care as much as we would about this situation. TDOT, whoever, could we not maybe make the regulations a little bit stricter and define mining and whatever to be a little bit clearer?
We certainly can.
Could we?
Not right now, yeah, exactly. It's gonna, in the near
It
future,
takes
yeah.
that. We're dragging our feet.
It's not relevant for this. I mean, we don't have it in place right now, so unfortunately.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I really think it's this. It's all going to boil down to just whether or not we determine that we know that mining's not allowed in an A1 zone. So we've been given the definitions that basically through the process that they've had here of what the state says this is mining, and if it's mining, these are the permits that are required to be able to do that. Okay, so the state says, all right, if you're going to do this, which in the definitions that they have, if you're going to do these things here, then we're going to consider it mining. All right. I think where the gist rubs in is how much. Because basically what we're saying is that if removing any dirt or rock or anything else from your property constitutes mining, then how would we ever have construction where we needed to remove dirt, rock, trees, or whatever off of your property? So in some cases, we're going to say we're looking at the scope. That seems small in comparison to what we have here now, okay? Now, can you have nuisances on a smaller scope? You can. You can have dust, dirt, whatever. And the other thing is that you can have blasting, okay?
Exactly.
Whether it doesn't really matter what zone it is, but the state of Tennessee says if you have a license to blast, you can blast, okay? But the key in this right here is that, and the way I understand it is that when Mr. Seals was explained to him what they were going to do, as far as that goes, and they may have looked at that definition and said it was good, but had they crossed the line and the scope gone up in comparison to what was originally there? And you have to make that decision. I mean, that to me, that's the decision. Where did this cross the line? Where did it become more than just clearing land and it became mining or quarrying? The state doesn't really tell you that to a certain extent, except that they say sometimes no matter what, you may have to have those same permits. That you do a subdivision, you're going to have to, you just put for residential housing, you're going to have certain permits from the state in order to operate as far as it goes. You may not have to have as many as this, but you will have to have some sort of permitting for that, depending on the size of the site you're working with, which he was right, as far as anything that gets so big, it's going to require that. The other questions that I had has the state found them to be in violation of any of their permits, other than, I think what he said was that basically that they're record keeping, okay? So, but there again, we've also heard testimony that they don't necessarily monitor these sites, and that could be the case because of manpower, okay?
Exactly.
So, I don't think any of us here are denying that there's a nuisance, all right? The question that we have a lot of times on planning commission is that how much nuisance can you allow? I mean, we've had nuisance issues before, and we've looked at them in different aspects. We've had noise, and we've had dust, we have dirt. as far as that goes, in those instances. So we've had nuisances before, but the question is that we've got to determine is that have they, as the scope of this, exceeded just clearing land and become mining?
Okay.
That's, to me, that's the decision I feel like I've got to make. I don't know, I'll listen to what y'all think about it.
Is that something we vote on?
Well, what we're voting on tonight is the appeal of Mr. Seal's decision in that they have allowed them to do, okay?
We're gonna vote to uphold
Either his decision,
original decision of what he allowed them to do, or to overturn his original decision.
but it's also based, I guess, on the latest complaint as well. Is that correct? Or is it just the original? Where
No, the zoning officer with comment and input from that at the time, the state planner, whether or not that use was permitted, what is going on, versus what is going on, is that use permitted?
Okay.
Regardless of its scope or size or how it's changed or not.
Yeah.
Now, assuming whatever the use is now, the question before you is that use permitted?
Right.
Because at this time, Tim's decision is that the use that was going on out there, or is or has gone on out there, is permitted. So you decide whether or not that's correct. And if it's not, then all you do is overturn that. And that use is going on.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Sure, that's pretty.
It's really just.
So what happens if we overturn it?
Well, if we overturn it, then Mr. Seals, then it will fall back upon him, I guess, to make the determination of
Notify
notify the property owner.
that they can't do what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think a key question here is the end goal of this land use to mine the land or to clear it and build something there? That's the first question I had when this came to my attention months ago. And I think it's been brought up, alluded to in other ways, and I think that's a key question here. Key question.
So, to me, to answer that question, if there was an intention to build something there, they would have submitted a site plan.
Exactly.
Okay, so, which.
Going back to what Tim said originally, though, that was something further down the road, correct, Tim?
Yes.
That wasn't anything that was being discussed at the point in time I come in and talk to you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's future.
Future.
What he told me.
Okay.
And that still could be on,
Oh, I'm
on
sure
the
it is,
table
yeah.
to do. Okay. Have any further questions? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman. I'm putting my thoughts together.
Okay.
Did they state at the time that they had further plans down the road to use that property for something other than just mining?
Yes,
What's the question?
They
they
did.
did.
Did they tell you?
Did they state at that time
Yes,
that they
today.
had something else down the road
Yes, to David, yeah.
to David?
Yeah, and me, yeah. Or I told David, yeah.
So if they just wanted to clear the land with the dirt and the rock, did they have to apply for the mining permit?
Not for the county, no.
With the state, did they have to?
That's the point that David was making. He thought, and I've told you all this before, that dirt and rock were the same. If you're hauling it off, if you're not crushing it there, he was gonna haul it to Sevier County, which is what he's been doing for 2.5 years. He didn't see no different than what they're doing all over the county with dirt.
But you don't have to blast to
Yeah,
haul
yeah,
dirt,
that
and you
never-
do
yeah,
to
but I
haul
guess-
rock.
Common sense would figure you're gonna have to blast something
Gonna
if
have
you're
to
hauling
blast.
rock off, yeah.
That's right.
Remember, the current inquiry is whether or not that use is permitted. And Tim's decision was, with the help of David, that it was, and so based on the proof that was presented today, you all decide whether or not what's going on out there, that use is permitted use in this zone.
Can you read us what's permitted in that zone again?
A1.
Who's got the copy? You got the copy.
I'll read you. Okay. A1, permitted uses agricultural and similar activities, including general crop farming, livestock, poultry, horticulture, aquaculture, etc. Residential activities, including single-family dwellings, duplexes, and mobile homes on individual lots. Type B, customary home occupations, which are minor commercial activities. Convenience commercial activities, including gasoline service stations, convenience markets, coin-operated laundries, video rental stores, restaurants, drugstores, grocery stores, lounges, bars, and florists. Personal services, including barbershops, beauty shops, pedicure, manicure shops, massage therapists, and tanning salons. Semi-public uses, including churches, cemeteries, lodges, and clubs. Public uses, including post offices, libraries, schools, and buildings and facilities for emergency and non-emergency use services. Indoor recreation uses, including video game arcades and billiards, pool rooms. Outdoor recreation activities, including golf courses, driving ranges, parks, athletic fields, and playgrounds. Repair shops, including shops that repair watches, jewelry, clocks, shoes, guns, appliances, and small engines. Micro distilleries, microbreweries, micro wineries, and farm distilleries. Other uses, including marinas, travel trailer parks, veterinarian offices, flea markets, bed and breakfast inns, and cadaver research centers. Solar energy systems and wind energy systems as principal or accessory uses. Conditional uses, including indoor firing ranges, outdoor firing ranges, skeet shooting, kennels, off-road vehicle facilities, outdoor festivals, concerts, flea markets, bed and breakfast inns, and air parks or airstrips, and then custom slaughterhouses and accessory buildings. Those are all the uses.
Can it be a big enough nuisance where we would, could we stop them from doing what they're doing?
No,
What do you-
nuisance is not a, nuisance is a lawsuit between property owners and, has to do with that. This body wouldn't determine whether or not something's a nuisance or not. Just determine whether or not whether the use is permitted. You can consider all those factors that they said, all their testimonies relevant to that issue, absolutely, but you can't declare something a nuisance or not a nuisance. You don't have that power. All you can decide is whether or not the use that's going on out there is permitted, and whether Tim's decision should be upheld. Tim's decision was that the use that was going on out there is permitted. You all have to decide whether it is or is not, and either uphold this decision or overturn it.
Is the use that's going on there, it's not listed in that list I just read, obviously, but is it similar enough to something in there? That's ordinarily the calculus you make there. Is it similar enough to what's in there that you would determine it's allowed?
So if it's ruining somebody's work,
We don't have proof it's ruining somebody's way.
And
That's all
you're not-
speculation.
That's for a court to decide.
You know, that's not for us. And we can consider those things.
Sure.
But we can't determine that that's what's caused it. That's outside of what we can do.
Do you think this is mining?
Yes.
yes.
I want to ask the question, and this is just how I'm looking at things. If they're taking rock out of the ground, I'm just throwing this out there. If there's a large hill and we're going to flatten it, is it the same thing? If that hill's full of rock,
If the blasting disturbs the water table.
they've got their permits, they've done everything they need to do for
That's
the
from the
state to
state,
blast.
right?
Yeah, and we don't control that.
State.
That's
I think
state.
our
Am I correct
regulations
in that,
ought to be
Mr. Dillon?
stronger than the state.
So that's what, if you've got a large hill on your property and you want a flat piece of ground, and that hill's full of rock, and you go to removing that rock, is that the same thing as this to get the flat piece of ground? Just,
Do they have to have a permit for that?
Yeah.
a mining permit.
I'm just asking those questions so we, consider all things.
I think it depends on the scope.
It does.
And that's when the state comes in, and 9 times out of 10, anything that over an acre's permitting starts coming into play. So.
Okay.
So we're going by the state's definition.
Well,
We're not, okay. We don't have to go by the state's.
what we have is what we have in our zoning guidelines, and it says mining, okay? And if you consider this to be mining, then you have to say, is this an allowed use in an A1 zone?
I understand.
And I want to ask this question before we move forward. Is what being done getting the property to where they want it to be to do whatever they want to do in the future?
Well,
But like he said, they didn't come before us with a plan to do that.
They come ask if they can remove rock and dirt.
They're not here now, right?
Yeah. And they're not here.
Nobody is coming from the planning commission or this board to remove dirt or rock.
No, if it's just
ever.
Right. Any
So
more?
mining's not allowed in A1 though.
Nope.
That's correct.
No.
That's mine.
It's only allowed in I-1.
I'm gonna make a motion to overturn the decision.
Okay.
Based on this, I think it's a mining operation from the permit they pulled from the state, or asked for the state.
Okay.
Their description says it's a quarry, limestone quarry on the permit application.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Being none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion passes. Moving on to the next item, that would be adjournment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
We gotta do the,
Yeah, we gotta do the planning commission.
I'm on a well, but if anybody stinks my water.
Please take the conversations outside.
You know, blasting, just, I think the dude, they went over.
I'm gonna call to order this meeting of the Jefferson County Planning Commission, and I trust again that you had your packets and was able to look at your minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve those as second. Proper motion second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Motion passes. Citizens input. Do we have a Melissa Whitaker here.
I am Melissa Whitaker, live in Waukon, Tennessee, 801 Ball Road. And I was just going to talk about agriculture and the definition and how it has, as a residents of this county, affected us on agriculture land. So agriculture, I am a graduate from the University of Tennessee in agriculture sciences. Also have a master's degree in agriculture sciences, leadership, communication, and education. So all the years that I've lived in Jefferson County, or I've been educated in the ag realm, never did talk about mining or anything industrial only, and I think that was a great choice. I was praying because the good Lord wants us to be good stewards of the land, and I'm a firm believer in that. And as an ag major and a farmer's daughter, I just feel like it's very concerning, and I think some laws need to be changed or zoning rules need to be about solar panels and energy sector going into agriculture land, which I live right next to. Democrat Sunquist, he just announced he's $1 billion battle against the federal government and the state and the money. It's just hard. I've accepted it. I've made amends. God's will be done. I just think it's important for you all to realize agriculture land is a survival. That's how we feed our youth. I'm also the health coordinator for Jefferson County Schools, and my passion is gardening and showing kids how to raise their own food. We put gardens in all the schools. We just recently put out a magazine that was done by a senior at Jefferson County High School on the seed to harvest. I think it's crucial our students, youth, know that our food doesn't come just from the grocery store. We need to know where our food's being produced, and even other countries are starting to ship and import food. So I think it's crucial. We need to educate ourselves. We need to see what is going on, and especially agriculture land. And I think you all made a great choice, and thank you for making that choice that mining is an industrial. It's not agriculture land. But that's what I have to say. Thank you all. I'm just very impressed with that and the thought that you put into it. And I just hope, consider the future of Jefferson County. And I wouldn't, agriculture land is, you can compare an apple, 3% of that apple represents prime agricultural land, and God gave us so much, and we need to conserve what we have, especially in our county. So with that, just be good conservatives, good stewards of the land here in Jefferson County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker. And we'll move on into new business. And item A, a preliminary plat approval for 39 lots of Laura Bowling Loop, Barber Road, Strawberry Plains, for Daniel Stacy. Do we have anyone here to speak to that?
Yeah, Daniel.
Daniel, okay.
Same plat that we looked at before.
You got an engineer to do your
road profile.
Yeah, road profile and the engineer on the drainage and everything. This is just preliminary.
Yeah, it's one. My printer ran out of yours.
That's plan, that's one I pulled,
Okay.
and there's all the zoning. Thank you.
and Jordan went down there today, I mean, looked at everything.
Yes, Secretary.
Is this the first time you got to see this?
No,
Okay.
I saw it earlier today, and
Okay.
I'm not an engineer myself, I'm a planner, so, I'm just trying to understand how the drainage is gonna work here. I see you've got the natural low-lying areas that I'm assuming collect stormwater now. Now, I guess I'm assuming that you're planning on not doing enough additional impervious surface to affect that natural drainage, right? Okay, so I don't see any stormwater infrastructure on here at all.
Right.
No curbs or gutters, obviously, and no
No, we
facilities.
don't do curbs. You can, but it's not required.
Just so long as the stormwater is managed somehow, and it's just for cause of problems somewhere else.
Mr. Seals,
Yo,
remind me again what our thing is. He's got on here, it says, house shown on lots is based on standard double wide. What is our regulation? Is it not 7%? The size of the lot on no more than a 10% slope that's got to be done,
you
so.
had the regs, or he did, didn't he?
Yeah, the survey and engineering, it's all to regulation, county regulations.
So do these meet that, since that's all you've got up here is this box?
That's right. That's why they are where they are on the map.
But that doesn't qualify. A 70 by 28 thing on a 3.5 acre lot does not qualify. That building site has to be a percentage of the size of the lot. It's got to have that in it. It's gotta be that big.
Eddie Gary did it? Or who did the survey?
The survey was at Culbertson and the engineer was in Hatfield.
Yeah, Matt
Is
Hatfield.
that not the way we've got that road?
Cuban Culbertson survey.
So a 70 by 28 on every lot does not qualify under that standard.
I didn't even look at that.
It's got to be, the bigger lots have still got to have, that's why we put it at percentage.
Right, that's
It's
true.
gotta have a site equal to 7% of that lot size. It's gotta be buildable.
How many does that change? Because it's just preliminary. It can change.
I understand, but they've got all the same size of what they're putting on there. They don't have anything that indicates that that's.
Did Hatfield do that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He said it meet all your else guidelines.
He may not know that's his department. I don't know, Matt's
Is
done
it 5%, whatever?
This one right here, what it's got shows is 5%.
Well,
The 70 by 20 is not 10.6, you're talking about 5 by 40, 1 by 3.
yeah.
Let's see that.
See that?
See what?
Can't see that, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
But like right there on the, that's where 53,000 square feet. And that's the same, that's the biggest lot.
I see, I go by that.
He's got, it's 3.53
Right
acres.
over here, then.
That bill site is not showing big enough.
It's gonna happen.
Every track?
I mean, I like it.
I don't know every track, but I know the ones that are, there's a 2.74 acres, and that 70 by 28 is not big enough. And there's a 3.5 acre, and that ain't big enough. I can do that math right quick in my head.
Do you understand what he's talking
Well,
about?
Matt must not understand.
But he's an engineer, you know, I mean, he said it met your else guidelines, so I'm just going with what he said. I wish
He
he was
may
here.
not have done one since we put those new regs in, though, to be honest with you.
Probably not.
Well, we could.
Could the build site still be there, it's just not indicated on it.
It could be there.
Yeah, it may very
And you
well
may
be
need to
big
go-
enough.
But you need to go back and ask him, that site, that lot has to have a building site on it that is equal to, if I'm not mistaken, 7%.
I think it's
7%.
7% of the size of the lot
I say it's
on a no more than 10% slope over the whole building site.
Maybe.
And that has no indication of,
As far as the there's no indication on there.
They should be big enough, he just may not have them.
I have no idea, but there's nothing on this plan that indicates that they are.
Last time we increased the size, they were smaller.
Yeah, oh, I know, yeah, you thought it was our one last time,
Because it says, house shown on all lots is based on a standard double wide mobile home size, 28 by 70. Well, 28 by 70 is 1,900 and some square feet. And on 3 acres, 3.5 acres, that ain't big enough.
I'd say Matt just didn't know, be my opinion.
So we just need that to be added to. Like, yeah, it may be there.
The site may be there.
It may be fine.
Perfectly fine, but it's got to show it on the plan, and he's got to sign his name.
Well, that's easily fixed.
Yeah.
He's got rid
Should we postpone this to the next meeting and give him a chance to get with his engineer?
I think the engineer should be here as well, or if you can, I mean, if at all possible.
With it being preliminary, should we move forward with that contingent upon that being
We
provided?
can move forward, and we've done contingent. I mean, it's,
Yeah, you've got it.
we've done that. That's not a problem. I'm just saying that it's got to show it on, it's got to have it. When somebody buys that lot, if they're if they're a New Jersey American or one of them people from West Coast or whatever, we're not doing addendums, or we're not variances anymore. So when they come in here and say, hey, that lot's too steep, it's in a big ditch, your surveyor and you are liable. So if you've not got him backing that on there.
Well, the surveyor and the engineer was out there when designed it, that's the reason they put them on the map.
And I understand, but they don't show it on the plan.
Eddie, sir?
No, the Culbertson and Hatfield.
Eddie didn't do it. Eddie did, yeah, well, I know he knows. Culbertson. I don't know him.
They was out there with Hatfield, and that's why.
He was, okay, well,
Out of Virginia.
they may not know that.
Virginia?
So,
Out of Nicholsville, Virginia.
would you rather us move forward with that contingency?
Yeah,
Or would you
because I
rather us
think it's
postpone
pretty-
and look at it? I mean, what would you ask us to
Just
do?
move forward with that contingency, when you think it's fair?
He can fix that pretty easily, but if you pass that on contingency, he's gotta come back for a final. He's gonna have to have a bond for the road, or put the roads in before you come back with the final.
Yeah.
And he can have that on there too.
Would it not be cleaner to just postpone and let them tidy this up?
It's, well, pleasure of the board.
I don't have an issue with it being a preliminary, because I know that all the work that he's gonna have to do. But the key's gonna be, to me, before he did the work, if it was me, I would make my engineer come back here and
I wouldn't want
satisfy that requirement just before I did it,
Put any
because if
money
he can't
into it.
satisfy that requirement, he's not gonna get a final, and he can't sell it,
Yeah, well, I wonder if it's gonna eliminate lots of them.
Well, maybe, maybe not. We don't know until he puts it on there. But here's the thing. We're not always guaranteed that when somebody gives us a preliminary, that when it comes to final, that the number of lots that they show us in the preliminary, they're gonna get in the final. Because soils comes into play, topography, so many things come into play on preliminary. This is what he would hope to have, like to have. That's not necessarily mean that he's going, that when it comes final time, that we'll see everything's here.
And often you don't even see the homes on the plat, you just see the subdivision. So they put homes on the plat, that's not something we require. But really, when it comes time to get a building permit is when this issue would come, that y'all are talking about.
It's required land.
It is required on the plan.
You gotta have a house
That the
size.
surveyor and the engineers certify, when they sign their name, they are signing off.
Oh, then
that
there's
is-
an envelope that meets.
That there is 7% of that lot on a less than
You gotta show it on
10%
the
slope
I see.
that's buildable.
Buildable.
That is in our subdivision regulations. That's an absolute.
Something nice for you got here.
7%?
I think that's right.
I think it's right.
Well, I mean, it ain't that steep out there. If you've looked at it, is it? I mean, it's.
I understand, and
Some
I
of
have
them-
no
some of them
problem
are,
with it,
but
I'm just
Some of it
saying.
might be, but I
So,
mean, you can get
one or two,
you can
maybe.
get a side on every.
Evidently, the
Yeah,
one
I
of
know.
them's again, 'cause
I think it's a
some guy
minor issue.
says existing fire. Yeah, I think so.
If we approve the preliminary contingent upon that, that lets him move forward, and if it doesn't meet that, it's not gonna get passed.
Yeah, he's not gonna get a
He's
fine.
not
He's not gonna get the
He's not
final.
gonna get a building permit.
If
And
we postpone it, we hold him up a month.
I'll make the motion to go ahead on contingency and approve it, but it has to be, you gotta get him back, and they gotta sign off that that's there.
I don't think that's the issue.
Okay,
So we have a proper motion on the floor, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Have a second? Is there any discussion, any more questions? All those in favor, I'm sorry, go ahead. Mr.
We do this on contingency. He can go ahead and start working on this, is that correct?
Yes. That's why you do a preliminary like
Yeah.
this, so they can get the work done, get the final, yeah.
Well, first he's gotta submit the data we're needing before he can get to work. If it's contingent on that,
He's
first.
gotta come back to Mr.
So
Seals and
it's-
say, hey, my engineer has fixed it, he's signed off, or my surveyor, or whoever. He's got to have a sign off on it.
Well, then it's gonna come with a final to you.
You know, worst case, the way I see it, I'm gonna lose a lot or two. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Worst case.
you may have to rearrange them or whatever, I mean, but that's no big deal.
Right.
All I'm saying is that when somebody buys it anymore in the county, they are going to be certified that they are buying a buildable lot.
Here's the other thing that sometimes we miss is that, but you have to be careful in this case because everything here is gonna be serviced by a septic system. So if you know where you're wanting to build and you've got that right there, now let's say the ground itself doesn't meet the topography issues, okay? You can actually level that out and make it meet the topography issues. So, but you wanna be careful before you do that, to make sure that you're not disturbing an area where your septic system and field line would probably be installed for these homes. But that being said, if you have that established, there's nothing in there in the rules and regulations says, oh, I don't have a place here.
You can go grade it out.
You can grade it out to make it work, you know, because you've met the requirements at that point.
And we don't got any soil issues either. We've done any soil scientist study them properly.
Okay. But I'm just saying that this doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna lose a lot.
Right.
You could do some things in there, on your side to recoup that lot if necessary. Because all we're looking for is the final result that says that you've got a house site that meets these requirements. And if you grade that out and it's already level, we don't really care.
Right.
You know, as long as you can satisfy the environmentalist on it, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Everybody knows what we're voting on. All those in favor of approving the preliminary contingent upon lot size being met, or building site being met on the lot? Forgive me.
Aye.
Let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Who's liable for all those deer that come out across that with you? Every night, man, I've got watching two of them.
Next item on the agenda is B, final plat approval for 3 lots of Red Wing Lane, New Market by Larry Russell.
Some more copies of this original. These got
I don't think that's it.
We need to get those up, get them out of there.
What is that?
And then the suits, and then this one down there and check it out.
Storing all this. Where we at on the agenda?
B.
Thanks. It's all your fault.
So they didn't put the thing on there like you did.
if y'all are wondering about that, that is a county road up to the, where they're showing it. You wouldn't think it is, but it is.
Yeah, no, it says it's just, is that a single lane?
Where's this?
Well, it's a county road.
It says here, gravel, but
It says it's a single old paved gravel road.
Yeah, but it is a county road.
Can you find that? Was it paved or gravel?
It's paved, right?
Okay.
To a point.
Maybe tar and shit.
Maybe, yeah, it's been a while since it's
Well, it's
paved.
funny because the
Charlie's
clearest
got to.
definition they could give me was it was 0.87 miles from Nancy Start.
Yeah, he checked with Charlie
So,
and made sure that.
yeah, and then Mr. Tippin and Mr. Patterson both came out. So if you take that 87, that puts about 147 feet onto the 1735.
Okay. Yeah, he made sure that he got with them before he did that.
And thank you for your guys' time and ladies' time tonight. I appreciate it.
Appreciate your patience.
We'll be here all night if we have.
I find it interesting though, so, you know what? You guys got a tough decision to make on that one.
Now, I know what you're saying. I did not see the other 25 foot going back there. And I don't know if he's got it broken right.
That ain't right, Tim.
I don't know who the surveyor was.
That ain't right.
When we got out to the property, there's supposed to be two 25-foot right-of-ways going from there.
It's gotta be 50 foot.
He's got 50 foot to the road.
I understand, but just coming back here,
Yeah, it's not.
he can't get back to that on just 125
It's
foot.
25 to both tracks.
yeah.
And I only
Right
see
there.
one.
Right there is not right.
I don't think he's got it broken.
Road ends here, so we need 25 for this one,
This
25
has
for
to be
this
50
one.
foot wide because you're coming back two
If you
lots.
got a different.
So right here, that's where it started, that being 50 feet wide.
This ain't one we got, ain't that, it ain't right.
Have you got a different one that you changed?
Because
Oh, okay. I thought we had it wrong.
Because originally we had talked about, it was 50 and you said that you thought it could be 25.
Well, for each track back there, those back two, 25 to each track.
Okay, so that's what I originally have.
Let me see.
That's wider on
So
his.
maybe
Yeah,
I
I see
see
it from here.
this
You can
one.
see it.
These are not.
They're both signed.
The ones we got are not right.
No, that one there shows just a distance.
Cause I know that one all for a fact.
Yeah, well,
We're sending back.
Did you learn it the hard way?
I wonder if this is still part of the road.
and that's what I was looking at too.
Because he could come off here and got one if he needed.
He could've come there and got this one, we here and got that one.
Yeah, we don't really care why they get into it. It just makes it legal that they could get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I say that. Maybe he doesn't own this right.
Okay.
So we make the changes?
Change that.
That's an easement. Is there?
That's the electric line over there. I mean, this is, if that's the
But that's gotta
continuation
come up there.
of the road.
From that point, it has to be 50 foot wide back there.
Yeah. And each one of them is 25 of them.
Each one of them is 25 foot.
If that road goes to the top side,
That's what I was wondering.
So do we need
if it goes on up and he owns us to the road, could he go out top of the road 25 feet to service the first one?
He could go back.
He could service the first one fit and then be good where he's
Go
at.
back to that, but he can't get those three lots off a 25 foot right of way.
Okay,
It's
so,
actually got two though.
So you don't need 50.
I think
one
he's
lot-
saying the county road services one lot.
yeah, the front lot.
just has to extend.
But what about these two lots back here?
You can have two on 25 foot.
No,
Yes. Permanent easements involving or serving no more than two lots shall be allowed, provided they adjoin a public street for 25 feet and are at
Yeah,
least
but he's
25
got
feet in
50
width
showing
throughout their
both of
length.
them.
I'm just saying, if it's two lots or less, it's 25 foot.
No, you can have three. That's why we did that.
No, he's only got two.
Read it from
He's only got two using the easement.
Okay,
Well,
So
if
to
you
me,
wanna
it's
count
25.
that county
Okay,
road there.
More than two is 50.
but wait. Okay, but the thing is this, does the county road continue to go this way?
No.
It ends right here.
To me, the
The county road ends right here.
Right there, yeah.
So
It
this
ends in
lot
that first lot.
is accessed by the county road.
Right here,
These
Paul.
two
So
by the
he's
easement.
Yeah, that's
coming,
where it ends. But
he's
Okay.
coming from
The
here.
but
preference
he's
line
not
is
got
the county road.
25 going
Right, okay.
to the back.
So that driveway comes out.
Here.
That's what I said, yeah.
It's gotta be
You
50,
got
out the end
50
of it.
going to both.
So is this,
Going to this.
according to his
so the county has
maps.
a
Our
50
maps
foot
are
wide
not
right away
right.
through that?
That ain't either.
His,
No, it ain't. Same, they're all the same.
they're all the same.
Yeah.
Well, no, this one is not.
Well, it looked like it to me.
No, well, this has got 50
wide.
right here.
This-
Because this is what I originally brought in, and then I was told, no, it only has to be 25, and that's why I changed it to that.
But they
And
didn't
that's what he
change it.
just said was
Now, is that
twenty-five,
one
right?
correct?
Right, the- our
That one's
regulations-
correct there, yeah.
Can we
that's-
approve it as this and get rid of those then?
That's
Well,
50.
yeah.
Well, I don't see a 25 on that.
That's
That's
50
50.
right there. That's right. Cause it's going back.
But you got 50 going to both of them.
Well, I guess it'd be, or you can
I don't-
divide
I
that. It'd be
didn't-
25
I
to
think
each
that's
one
what-
of
Yeah,
them.
but it's showing on there.
Right.
I don't think you can have
If
50
the
going to
50
both
went to
tracks.
here,
can
could
you?
the 25 not go to that?
What do you mean?
50 foot, what he's got
Show
there.
50
Well, he's
here.
got- he's gotta have
Show
a
this one, the
25.
25.
The way the
this one,
subdivision
25.
You gotta have two
This
25s.
is this
If it's
25.
two lots or-
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
225.
If you showed 50 foot to here and then 25 went on to that one, are you good?
Yes.
So of the three lots,
Yeah.
you show 50 to the one in the middle and 25 to the one on the back.
Well, or 25 to both of them, what I would do. I mean, you don't have to have that.
Mr. Chairman.
But now,
Yes,
you
sir.
don't, do
Mr.
you
Rock.
need the easement to be onto that other property, or you don't need an easement here though, right?
No, it just goes to the
Yeah.
line. You're good there.
So how about we just do that as this one is drawn then?
Well, it's gotta be, each one of them's gotta have a right.
25.
Their own separate.
Yeah.
Designated.
Okay, so,
Designate.
so this one
So
has
you
to
would
be,
have, this one, you'd
Yes,
have to have
exactly.
50 foot wide, but it's gotta be split.
yeah, so this one
And
drives to
then
here,
this
and
one
then that
is
one goes to the
25
back.
more.
Yes, now you get,
Back
yeah, that's
there.
right now.
So there's 25 comes to this line, and then this bottom 25 comes all the way back. You don't have to give 50 here.
Yeah, so 50 is, because that's 25 going to this lot, and then the 25
Yeah.
straight through to this lot.
So you need two 25s, one of them's a long one, one of them's a short one.
Yeah.
Where's that surveyor from?
Yes. I'm right there with you. As, Austin getting ready to bring up a
Seymour.
question.
Seymour?
Yeah.
He don't know our rules probably.
And Jordan's gonna read the rules again here, if you don't mind, Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm with you on what he
This
said.
this
I'm
page
just-
14 in the subdivision regulations. Permanent easements may be permitted. All permanent easements involving or serving more than two lots shall adjoin a public street for 50 feet and be at least 50 feet in width throughout. Permanent easements involving or serving no more than two lots shall be allowed, provided they adjoin a public street for 25 feet and are at least 25 feet in width throughout their length.
That's what we're talking, 25 feet to each.
That's what he's got.
So he's good. Now he's got 50.
25 for the whole easement, doesn't matter about, it's not a
He's more
different
than
width
that.
per lot, it's the same width for the whole easement.
Well, we
25
never
foot.
allowed that before.
That's how it reads.
Well, I
You do what
ain't
you want.
read that way.
You do what
We've
you
never
want.
done it.
We've
If
always,
y'all wanna start
The
doing
easement
it,
is
that's fine with
The
me.
easement's 25 feet throughout, that's what it says here. Y'all can do what you want, but that's what it reads. You might want to change it.
They tell me, yeah.
Change it.
I would change it if y'all want to do it different.
We
When you
can't-
change the
Can't
land,
change it
We
tonight.
can't change it
No.
before we
No,
do
you
this.
can't change it.
So-
Actually, we can't change it
Used to, we didn't have to
with
do
the
it.
county commission.
so what you're saying is that two lots can go with 25,
Okay.
but each lot doesn't have to have 25.
the easement can serve, if the easement serves two lots, which in this case it serves two lots, the easement needs to adjoin a public road for 25 foot, which it does, and it needs to be 25 foot in length throughout. Which it is.
I'm with you, I wouldn't, I've always been under the understanding that it took, each lot needed the 25 feet, and that it needed to the 25 feet needed to touch the public road and go to it.
A separate easement per lot.
That's the way we,
That's way they did it.
Well, the reason they did that is because they got into a fuss down yonder about who had the road, if you remember.
Responsible to maintain it.
Well, we changed that.
Just
rule.
the one shared driveway they got into a fuss?
Yes.
I think it's every shared driveway in the county.
Well, I don't know, but we had one in here, and that's why that we've always went with, each one of them has 25 foot. Now, they can share a driveway.
Yeah, which they do a lot, family.
Yeah.
Used to, we never allowed anything.
So back to you, which one would you like for us to approve? That one or this one?
I'd like the 25, but if it needs to be 50 and then 25, I'm okay with that too.
Okay.
Because as of now, the house that has the road on it is me. So I'll give up 50 feet at that point. It's not gonna hurt me a bit.
Now, are you gonna maintain the easement, I'm assuming, or who's gonna maintain the easement in perpetuity?
I will.
And that's not a-
Because
No,
I live in the
curious.
one house
Yeah,
that's
that's
already
an
existing.
important
So
concern.
the other two will be, and like I said, we need to take out 50 feet from that first property. I don't have a problem with it.
So if we go back and historically look at past practice, we've got proof of the 50, what we're talking about, what he's got on paper. So we can move forward tonight with that. If we want to revisit this and get clarity at a later date, but to satisfy where we're at tonight, if he's piece with 50, that's how the motion would need to be. To approve that one, not
If you're
this one.
comfortable with that, we'll move 25,
Yeah, so-
225 stacked on that one, and
Yeah, so
I'll
we'll
make
do
the
two
motion that way.
25s. Now, can we do it,
Yeah.
I mean, can we approve it with the contingency?
Yes.
That's the way it would go?
Yeah, they
Yes.
can.
Yes.
And like I said, not an issue, because like I said, it's my property that, I mean, I'm living on it, I'll give up that 50 feet right there. It's not hurt me.
Stephanie, did you get all this in that?
Did you read that?
Call us next week in 3 hours, so.
Okay, everybody know what we're looking at tonight then?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna try to explain it.
25?
I'm gonna try to explain it.
Uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted. The drawing he has shows the 50. According to what we have as past
You wanna
practice.
take a look at this and make it easier?
Yeah.
And so this one will go down to 25, so this goes away. I'm sorry, with scribbles, but I think that's what you're asking for.
well, and then it would
And
go
then
on
split
out.
that one, yeah, just make sure it's split.
Here you go.
So, with that being said, and looking at past practice and what we've done, and there's evidence it's been done that way, we're gonna move forward. He's at peace with that, getting it approved and moving forward, contingent upon being 50. We'll revisit this somewhere down the road and stuff, get clarity on what's there, and move forward with it.
Reads pretty clear to me.
It does, but then you've got the past practice and where we're at, and so, and if he's at peace with that, that's how the
Yeah.
motion would need to be. So what's the pleasure of the board?
That's what you want.
Well, it's not what I want. I'd like it to be 25, but if that's what it needs to get approved, then
Okay, if we're not gonna approve it at past practice, we're gonna probably have to postpone.
let's just approve it as that, 50 down to 25.
Is that,
Yeah,
Yes.
so what's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Have a motion to
Second.
approve the 50-foot contingent upon it. Got a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it. Okay. Number C,
Just give that to Ken, if you would. So
long range planning survey results. Jim Snodgrass. Is Jim with us?
Is Jim? Yeah, he's still here.
I'm trying to look him up.
You bring a pizza?
No, should have, right?
Yeah. Short and sweet, Jim.
All right, well, I'm short.
Keep it to
So
45.
I got that part done, so.
Yeah, but are you sweet?
There's your
Yeah,
prize.
sometimes.
Okay.
We can go through the results line by line, if that's what you would like. Hit the key points, or if there's any questions to get started with. I will give a little background. This was kicked off, let's see, early '23. This process went through. We hired an outside contractor group, IBI, that helped us put together this survey. A lot of that was being driven by what we were hearing here in the courtroom, some of the things we heard in here tonight. And we want to get a broader survey and go from there. So we worked with IBI to develop this survey, which that part of the process went longer than intended and caused the actual survey to get kicked off a little slower. But in the end, we got it out there. We had a highest per capita response rate that this survey company has ever received, including Knox County. So a lot of good work, a lot of folks in here helped with that, getting the news out and the communications, and I think we got some pretty good data here. So with that,
I don't have my page.
let me Does it come out?
Yeah, just slide it.
All right. Question one, of course, you got some standard demographics here. If you want to scroll up there a little, you can see the age buckets that are here that took the survey. You go on to question two, please. And, well, I'm sorry, back up just a little bit. At the bottom of each slide, it'll break down in details what the distributions were, okay? And there's like one I'll point out that kind of threw me off a little bit, which I have all the raw data. The county has all the raw data if we want to break that down a little further and see what drove that decision or that outcome. All right, go on to slide two. What sex? So you can see majority female. And a couple other little stats before we go further I want to share with you. We did hold community meetings too. I don't know if any of you were aware of that. We held one here at the high school, one at New Market Elementary, and then we closed out at Talbot Elementary. We had about 70 attendees come there. And general comments there we heard, and there was a lot of interactive models there too to let folks talk about, pin notes on. Basically it was preserve agricultural land, the rural character of Jefferson County, control development, locate commercial at intersections and along major highways, and limit new subdivisions. All right. And then, all right, let's go on, please. This data is not available in this format on zip code. Again, some more demographics relative to race, ethnicity. And next. All right, so this is a big one. How long have you lived in Jefferson County? I think I've heard it a few times in here tonight, but some commentary was about a lot of new residents moving in here, may have been influencing that, which I can say yes. There's been so many comments from folks that have moved around the country. They moved here because of what we have as an agricultural, rural, historical community. And they want to help it to stay that way. And if you look at this data here, approximately 50% of the respondents have lived in this county for more than 20 plus years. Okay, so there's some history behind these 1,916 responses. And you can see that's a great number here for the more than 40 years. Down just a little bit, please. And then you can see here, all this is available on the county website, or if you would like it, I can email the link to you as well. I just don't know where it's buried at on the website. We're going to figure that out and move it up the line. Okay? And then moving on, approximately 88% of the respondents are homeowners here in Jefferson County. So roots are there. Now, looking at the next slide, what's a profession? We have a large group of sampling. We've got a large group from the schools. I don't see anyone here from the school group, but yeah, school board member back here. They were very supportive, and Dr. Arnold was on the guidance team there, and he did a lot using his communication tools to get these surveys out into the community through the schools. So,
would you scroll? Yeah, thank you. Scroll back up just a moment, please. Okay.
and
So,
by the way,
what was the number agricultural? That may be represented at the bottom when we get to him. There we go.
Yeah. 46.
46.
I thought that would be higher.
Me too.
And does everyone have their copy that Austin passed out earlier? If not, I've got a bound copy here. And there's more here. Yeah, I thought that would be a little bit higher.
If I can make a, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, man.
If I can make a comment to that. So, myself and my wife, we own agriculture land, but neither of us would consider our professions to be agriculture. And I think a lot of people in this county, I mean, you yourself, I don't know, would you consider yourself to be in the agriculture profession, even though you do quite a bit of farming?
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
It's not where the money comes from.
Yeah, my primary is public work, but my second job is farming.
So, well, I think a lot of people read this and put down, you know, like you, for instance, you might put your occupation.
Yeah.
However, what you're gonna see in a moment probably will tie with that. When you see the final, what's the overwhelming choice? Actually, something that was mentioned earlier in the presentation by Ms. Whitaker, so we'll go on down, please. All right. Do you own a farm or agriculture business? Most are no. We saw that with the 46 earlier. All right, next slide. Do you work in Jefferson County? Almost 50-50 here for those who took the survey. And we know that our stats are historically, a lot of folks work outside the county. All right, next question, please. Are you a business owner based in Jefferson County? And again, large percentage not. All right. Question 11. All right, so now we kind of get into the meat and potatoes here. Goes along with a lot of things we hear in many of our county meetings. What type of development do you hope to see in Jefferson County grows? Please rank 1 to 5, with 1 being the most important. Bring that on up a little bit, please. I'm sorry, calm down. All right, there we go. This is the one I mentioned earlier that I need to dig a little deeper on what drove recreational as a #1 response. A couple of years, 3 years ago, we did a recreational survey across the county, and there is a plan put in place that law may or may not be rolling at this point. So I think there's a little more digging there, but otherwise, you've got residential, mixed use, which is commercial residential, and that was pulled right out of our standards, and then commercial and industrial, so they're all pretty close from that point. All right, we'll go on to the next question. Forget my notes here. And Jefferson County grows, please rank your priorities from 1 to 6, with 1 being the most important. And here's where you see your top 3 are preserving agriculture, up down just a little bit more, please. Back up, please. All right. Preserving agriculture, maintaining the quality of the schools, and economic development. Now, in our community surveys, you're seeing preserve the rural feel here as well. What's going into this? So it's clear the message that's been sent on those priorities.
So, question, Mr. Andre.
Yes.
What is preserving agriculture? Define that.
Well, I can give you my point of view and what I hear and what I understand, okay? As we go forward to take action on this, it's going to take multiple people working that. So, preserving agriculture to me is part of preserving the rural feel and wild spaces, okay? That's part of that. Looking at it from what we've got today, we all know that this part of the country is one of the hottest spots in the nation for low-density development, which is taking agriculture land, putting them into 5 and 10 acre lots and mowing with a lawnmower, taking that land out of agricultural production. And that's based on some history I've read of reports. That report was published in 2016. So there's, in this area, this specific area of Tennessee is listed as red for low density development. And we know we're all seeing a lot of that. COVID, who knows how much more red or expanded that is. It's a great place to be. I think I heard that in one of the comments earlier. Someone mentioned, the gentleman had the 22 acres over here in Piedmont. But that will take ag land out of production. And that's preserving in the near term, but when we're talking 20 or 30 years down the road, as Ms. Whitaker said, all the numbers now are showing we don't have enough ag land in production to supply the food that'll be needed based on the population growth at that time. Some numbers have shown that we have to produce as much as 70% more on the existing agricultural land just to feed that population that's coming in 2050. So there may be other commentary out there to support that. So talking about preserving what land we have now in the rural field and keeping land in production for the future. Let me keep going. Can you speak?
And my problem is you have solar panels putting on this land, agriculture land. How many job opportunities does that provide our community?
That's right. And there's a question that will.
That much land and puts energy on agriculture, and that takes away from some lands to produce an economic development in our county. Does that make sense? If it's zoned industrial. Because solar is taking up a lot of land, and it's taken away from agriculture, it's taking jobs away from our county that could possibly provide jobs for our families. Like, I work for the school system, and I would love our families to have job opportunities within our county and not have to travel to Knoxville and Sevierville and be the bedroom community that we are currently.
I agree with you on that. So that will be addressed in one of our later questions. A1 zone, and what, based on the survey. So I want to finish with this. So preserving not only means keeping that land in long-term production, okay, preserving now for the future, but also getting our up-and-coming future agriculture people educated, sharing knowledge, so that they can take care of that in the future. So we got to plant a tree today so somebody else can get the shade 30 or 40 years from now in some of these actions. So how's that?
Well, I guess I'm looking, everybody's, and I read that you were kind enough to give me one there, county commission, I read through it. And there's a lot about preserving rural field, there's a lot about preserving agriculture, but then the question becomes how? Are we providing opportunities for them? Do we have things that agriculture can benefit for? I mean, preserving a farm requires money.
That's right.
And if they don't make enough money, then it's put to its best and highest use, and if somebody's got more money, ends up breaking it up, whatever they do. And like I say, I'm just curious about, was there any, besides what do you want, is there any thoughts or comments within this thing as to how to do it? How do we allow that? Have we opportunities for them? Do we have, where does that go?
So the intent of the survey wasn't the how. The intent of the survey is let us hear what you want as a large group. Then I can talk about Mr. Mike over here. He has a lot of how and recommendations. There are a few that were involved in this process that has a lot of good ideas. So this body, county commission, long range, several of us got to put our heads together and say, okay, here's what's been presented to us. How do we make that happen?
I mean, because historically in the past, that would have benefited it, it's been shot down to this zoning board. So I guess I'm wondering, how do we balance that?
So, well, let me take another. I think we've got to put it on the table now that we've got this kind of mass quantity survey and all the changes that have gone on in our county. I think it's the right. It's a prime time.
Well, I applaud you. I applaud what they did. I'm just curious as to think about it.
So there's other ways, talking about preserving rural field, putting in, and I'm sure this group has it on the table, is not having, avoiding, it's just sign rules is another way. Not having signs sticking up in the sky, not having digital boards that light up 24/7. those are real, and I just was recently involved on the handout end of one that Knox County did. And man, they have got, I mean, it's, I think, a 27-page document about signage. So you think about how to integrate that into our communities so that it doesn't look like Las Vegas or Kingston Pike.
Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, Pigeon Forge, that's right, that's right. That also helps preserve the rural feel, a little bit different from your question in agriculture. But the actions we take to preserve agriculture, there's some immediate things, like you said, and we've talked a little bit about this. Somebody gets handed a 100-acre farm, they might have, but they're not going to typically, have enough cash laying around to keep the farm going and pay all this, that, and the other. So what incentives can we provide as a county to let folks keep that in the green belt or keep that into production somehow?
To speak to that, there's actually some stuff that's been going through state legislature to assist with that.
There we go. So there's mechanisms to get there.
Well, what about those people that have that farm and they say, I don't want to farm anymore?
Yep.
So are you going to say, well, we know you don't want to farm anymore, but we're not going to let you do anything else with that land but farming? You think it'll come to that?
No, I mean, that's...
To the survey and all.
We're going to change it to a silo.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
I think we're getting a little off topic.
So, incentive program, and I think there may be some of this going through the state too. They're like, okay, you don't want to farm anymore, but you don't have to sell it. We'll pay you to keep it as farmland.
Who's going to pay?
The state has a program
Yeah.
called Land Preservation Act right now.
Yeah.
It's a modified conservation type preserve in it, and most of the ones that goes in a conservatory goes in a perpetual. This is, what you're talking about right now is like a 15-year deal.
Limited time.
Yeah.
And there's some conservation easement program as well going through NRCS and some other stuff that's out there. Cities
Yeah.
used to do that. That there are options, but a lot of folks don't have the knowledge of what's out there.
That's right. In another program, let's say I've got 100 acres, I'm done farming, I have no one else in my family that wants to take care of it. Maybe we have a program that there's a young farmer up and coming, and we can somehow, as a state or even a county, set aside funds that says, hey, we're going to subsidize you leasing this land while you're getting your farm be an operation up and going. So I could go on and on about a lot of things like that, but
And
Katie?
cemeteries, are they in A1?
For adjacent to,
Are they?
yeah, for adjacent to the church.
There's where the mirror's at. God.
Sugar, you can bury it when we get off.
I'm going to share one other thing too, that talk about a lot of folks recently moved into our community. I sell square bale hay. I sell square bale hay to a lot of folks that have started up coming out of state, starting up goat farms and selling goat products here in our local community. And that's one of the recommendations, to help drive preservation by shopping the local. And we know we've got a few famous ones around here too, so there's another mechanism. All right.
Is this provided to the whole county?
This is on the county website, is that correct?
On the county website.
I figure how to access.
What?
I bet Mr. Bolton would be happy to show anyone how to access this on the county website.
Jim said he's gonna make it easier.
Yeah, it's got to be right there on the front page, and we've got one more communication event, a countywide mailer I need to run by the long-range planning team, hopefully get everybody's mailbox in the county with some quick access to. All right.
Floppy disk.
So, question 13. Is it important for Jefferson County to maintain its rural feel? Here you go. You got 90-something% of the respondents say yes. How should infrastructure in Jefferson County be improved? Please rank your priorities from 1 to 7. All right, scroll down just a little bit, please, Mike. And number one was improve road connections. I think we all can understand that. We all like to get where we like to get to as efficiently as possible. I'm sorry?
Do you think that's because of our population growth, that is it the conditions of the road, or do you think it's the traffic conditions themselves?
We asked some questions about the road conditions at the very end as well, but I think this one geared more toward, there's another summary presentation, and this one geared more toward about once you get to the main highway and those type of intersections, how you can get to and from. But there is a road question. Let me flip over here.
Curiosity, Mr. Jim, is they've got down broadband.
Yeah.
But is that not, would that not be addressed by Appalachian where they're putting that in?
It has been addressed.
Was this after the?
It was kind of when all that was coming down.
Okay.
Yeah, except for the Parish Chapel community. Thank you, Katie. I gotta say, except for the Parish Chapel community, which is supplied by, that one particular area we hear about is supplied by Sevier County. But, yeah, it's right at my house. Yes, sir.
I know the information in here, but as far as that goes, if you were to take the zip codes, as far as that goes, and you were to look at the comparison at the zip codes in there, do you think that the zip codes that had a lot of rural areas in it would be say, hey, improve my road conditions? Have you, I mean, has there
I can break that down.
Would you break that down?
I'll take that.
He's asking the people that responded to the survey, what area they candidate they responded from.
That'd be it.
That would be something nice to know. What area did the most, I mean, did you mark it compared to White Pine, compared to Dandridge, compared to Jefferson City?
Well, I thought you were comparing cities to.
No, areas of the county.
Okay.
Because it could be the same thing for extended water and sewer.
Okay.
If you're in the county and you've got water and you've got sewer, that's not a priority, you got it. But if you're living in an area that doesn't have it, then you're probably going to be the ones that vote on it. I was just curious to see if, how the different portions of the county on some of these things, it would be pertinent to them. Because if you've got it, it's not that important. You have it. But if you don't have it, then that may be your top priority.
Is that information you can get, Jim? Where the responses come from?
Yes.
That'd be good to see.
All right. Then you can see water and sewer, bike and walking, fire and police. That actually came in as what, number 3, which I believe, you know, there's a fair amount of improvements there. I mean, I think there's a lot of good stuff going on there too. And improve and expand medical. I think in our there's also a comment section, which it's kind of been a data dump right now. We've got to sort and go through that. There's some comments in there about medical services. So
is that medical services doctors or EMTs or do you all know?
Well,
It doesn't
police and
specify
fire,
that.
all that's addressed in another line item.
But that's
That's not EMTs.
I think a lot of, well,
it
I mean, I
doesn't
think
say
of that all as.
specifically, just medical services.
Okay.
All right, and we can move on to the next slide. Okay, as commercial industrial development grows in Jeff County, which options would you like to see included in standard development rules? And this is about what the buildings look like, what the signs are, how tall, how bright, noise levels, pedestrian design, meaning sidewalks, crosswalks, those kind of things. Basically, if you look, what we got, better than 90% said yes, they would like to see some designs around that.
Is that just for commercial, or was that both for residential and commercial?
Yeah, that would be all in. All in. And from what I hear, and again, this is just my collective hearing, this is not backed up with any science. You don't know, not knowing what it's going to look like of something coming next door, where it's industrial, commercial, I think we all worry about that. And we all have things we prefer and probably don't prefer. So I think these kinds of design standards take a lot of that away. And so, you know? All right, we'll move on to the next question. I'll try to hustle up here. It wants sign guidance. Again, just under 90% said yes, we want sign designs. I'll give you an example. This is kind of I know probably many of us that around here travel back and forth to Knoxville. There used to be an establishment out on the west end of Knoxville, around Lovell Road, that had the silhouette of a woman about probably 80 foot in the air, neon sign. So now, those are no longer allowed in the Knox County sign ordinance. Those type of signs for those adult entertainment establishments are limited to 5 square feet.
How many?
5 square feet.
That's why I don't go to Knoxville.
Yeah.
You can't find your way around.
Yeah.
Get my eyes checked.
You need your glasses checked.
Oh, come on,
So-
Dad, the reason you can't go because you know it.
Hey, that's my sister.
Right? Can't see it so we don't get tempted. Good thinking. Anyway, so that's the kind of sign details that, things that we can put in up front and not spend our time in here debating about it, right? All right, so move on to the next one, rules for landscaping, and this is a lot to do with our highways and streets and putting those medians in there with the landscape development that make it look nice and help maintain a rural feel. All right.
Is that for commercial and residential on the landscape?
Yes, all in, yeah. And we didn't specify pick one or the other. It's just kind of an all-in situation. Traffic buffer, tree buffer, again, this is starting to...
Question on that, Mr. Jim. Some of these things, sidewalks, a good example, are absolutely economically unfeasible for the county. Don't have enough money to maintain them. How important is that one?
I'm probably not the right person to ask because my opinion is relative to whatever else is here, it's lower on the scale, okay? But when you start to do commercial developments where you've got strip malls, I mean, that's more of a safety practicality as well. So I don't know, Katie, you may want to jump in here.
I mean, it's, and most of those are going to be inside the city. But when you get out in the county, we absolutely don't have the money or the manpower to
Well,
put in sidewalks. We have widened the street to the bike lane.
what about, for example, where the Farm Bureau building is that city of Dandridge or is that county?
It's city.
It is city, okay. I thought it was county, but that would be a good place as that area continues to develop to have sidewalks. But yeah, from a county. Katie, would you like to?
I think it was strictly subdivision.
All right, yeah.
The problem is we can't afford it.
Well, you put it up, it could be the burden of the subdivision. The developer would pay the
Yeah.
upfront cost. Well, if they don't wanna have a nice subdivision, that's something.
If they pay the upfront cost, when
That's
we
on
take over the road, we have to
We take over the
maintain
road,
it.
we gotta do it.
You can't afford it. Absolutely can't. It'll break you.
That's not, that's not,
Well, Joe ain't gonna do these.
So, fine then, right?
I mean, I'm just curious
Yeah.
about how, they had several things. How important is something like that as compared to the medians or the buffers or trees or whatever?
I think with this, some of it's easier to put in place than others. So like planning, needs to work with county commission, needs to work, like there's multiple entities that need to work together to try to come up with some things we can do short term, some things, you know, are gonna take longer, but that we listen to what the citizens say and try to make an attempt to achieve the stuff. Like the trees, the signs, like, are you gonna notice it immediately? No, but like Jim said, drive down Kingston Pike and you can tell where it's changed as you reach towards Ferry. It's still the same commercial development, but it looks and feels differently. So I think some of this stuff will take, some of it we may not be able to do, a lot of it we probably can do, but everybody's going to work together to figure out a path forward.
Yeah. Signs are quick, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what I see here, just in general, is an overarching theme of a preference for quality development, higher quality development, quality over quantity. Quality.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
That's
I don't,
how I would put it, just as a planner.
that sounds good.
Question that thing. Question that thing. As, I just try to move it along.
Oh, move it, yeah, let's move it, yeah, 19, yeah, I think we can all appreciate this. Their way, again, we're talking about buffering noise levels or controlling hours of operation, those kinds of things, so. All right, moving on. All right, so here's a good one. Are you familiar with Jefferson County zoning regulations? And can you find the zoning resolution here? I was impressed by this response rate. I thought there would be more no's. This is pretty impressive. Yeah. So that means a lot of folks know what our zoning regs are. So now moving on to the next one. Well, what do you think needs the most attention? Okay, and I'll go back to what Ms. Whitman, some of the other things I think you guys have been addressing thoroughly tonight. So A1 was ranked as the #1 zone that might need attention according to the survey. Because there is a lot of stuff, and I heard someone up here reading it earlier in the earlier meeting, and I should be more familiar with it, but some of those things didn't hit on my radar that could go into A1. So after that would be rural residential, then high density. I know that one was big on the radar a couple years ago, but I think, again, back to your question earlier, John Neal, preserving agriculture, and Mr. Terry, I've heard you say this several times about our direction was to push this development in close to the cities or in the cities, and that's still happening. So,
I think they're pushing back.
yeah, I understand.
They're pushing back now.
And then you can see down the others how they rank. And then to my surprise, we had a couple folks that said no changes at all. So, and then on to, now let me touch on, that's when I was holding this page. This where it goes back to, so I'm going to touch what she talked about, the solar farms. There's actually a grand opening for one, I believe, this week in White Pine. That's the one over near the substation there off of Harrison Road. So, yeah, that shouldn't be an A1. That's my personal opinion. It's not agriculture. I mean, we're harvesting the sun, but
I might speak to that for just a moment, Terry, if you don't mind. And it's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at solar. And I'm not saying I'm necessarily a fan of solar, but you have to have energy. And as we saw in the past few winters, that's not 100% guaranteed to be there. And there was, the rolling blackouts we had. I think the solar farm that was talked about, not sure where it's at, but it's 200 acres that Ms. Whitaker was talking about. That allowed Appalachian Electric and Marshtown Utility Systems to buy 5% of their power from those. I don't want to see the farmlands turned into solar farms either. But we've got to figure out where we're going to get our energy from. You know, and I'm not saying again that I was in favor of the battery facility, but that was another source of it when it's needed. And how do you design that? Where do you put it?
On the roof?
Over here.
On the roof of the school?
And it's mandated in other states that that's done. And that is more cost building the school, or building the home.
The state don't pay for it.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah.
but there are places, and even now, because I've read some articles here lately, is that where solar farm and agriculture can work hand in hand.
Vertical
panels.
Vertical panels.
Because, and then the other thing is that, it's not as if you're digging all the soil up and everything else, because if the solar goes away, you take that away, and you still got your agricultural land later on. But I mean, I understand, that's to a certain extent, but there again, I still say, you know, and when I hear that, I take it this way. People tell me things, they don't always just give me all the bad, that they want to put the good in, so I always take it with a grain of salt to saying that, yeah, they can go hand in hand. Well, maybe they can, maybe they can't. But if it's been proven elsewhere, then so be it. But I'm just saying take those. But it seems like there's been some articles that have come out saying that they can go hand in hand. It just really just depends on, I think, how.
There was actually some articles that showed vegetable production was increased when it was in with the solar farms. That they had increased production. And that's neither here nor there, but just there has to be some way to have energy to support more homes, more businesses, you know, and we can't just say, hey, we're dependent on TVA for everything, because it may not be there.
The 5%, that was the $3 trillion that Bernie Sanders gave TVA and mandated that each utility company implement that. It was mandated. So I'm all for clean energy TVA with power is the cleanest energy. And I do think that there's a place for agriculture, not all 250 acres though.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking, you know, maybe this can, and it's actually being, my brother, he works with the University of Tennessee, he goes to the Middle Tennessee Ag Research Center.
Yeah.
And they use it on things that they weigh their steers and so, I mean, there's a place for it. But
There's a discussion there to be
I'm
had.
just saying, it's just not on 250 acres or, I agree, thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. About 30 seconds left of or 45 seconds left, so road question, somebody asked that earlier. How well are they maintained? You can see those answers, almost. So pretty good, somewhat well, very well, extremely well, not so well, not at all. So I think we got great roads.
Exactly.
That's right. I worked with a guy that complained, he lives in Jeff City, and he complained about our roads all the time, and I took him up to Jackson, Michigan. He never complained again. Huh?
I'm from Jackson, Michigan.
Hey.
Yeah, our roads are, but of course we have snow and ice.
Yeah.
How are the roads in Jefferson County?
Oh, good, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
All in Tennessee.
South Carolina.
Tennessee, the south roads are bad.
Yeah.
I can go to other counties
is
that
terrible.
tear around us, and I
Yeah.
can see our roads are.
I think they're great, so. Did that data come through? Maybe not. Then there were several other open-ended questions. There's a lot of data we've got to do some little organizing of the data and get that uploaded, so. That's the fast version.
What were you most surprised about?
That recreation comment.
I was most surprised that there wasn't more young people who participated. And the first thing I thought is that maybe they don't have any hope to stay here, be able to stay here.
What?
I don't know. Well,
They've been raised in air conditioning, and they don't want to.
Well,
it's not that.
you talk about the,
You know, there's got to be opportunities.
I mean, if we go back to when we were in our 20s, what were we were focused on the weekend, right?
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I would have thought there would have been a few more.
Well, we got another item on the agenda.
Okay.
We got another item on the agenda.
Sit still, Chief.
One of the things that I noticed, speaking to agriculture, hey, or on 291 yeses. We turn to the next question, or two questions later. Are you a business owner based in Jefferson County? 290. There's one person difference between the agricultural business and business owner. So I wonder if they really understood those questions, or if those two are meshed there.
Good point.
Just one person difference.
I've got a question, just, I don't know the genesis of how this started, and that's kind of where my question's going. Like, typically the public, like a survey of the public like this would be part of a comprehensive plan, but this is just a standalone survey, so.
I'll give you the history behind that. So, yeah, when this, we had a long-range planning committee that was birthed about 3 years ago. And one of the early meetings, I think, Terry, you might have come to one of those early meetings, we had this group come in, they gave us a pitch about doing the survey and then building the strategic plan, so forth, so on. We chose as a county to fund the survey part of it as a starting point.
Okay, just as a starting point.
As a starting point, yeah.
Which makes sense to me now after hearing it.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have given some more background up front, but.
I do think the planner should go to the long-range planning meetings as well, so I'm happy to attend if I can. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know why the planner wouldn't go to those for the county, so.
Well, as a body, we have no authority to make changes. But we got this put before us, so we're going to have to come together as a long-range planning group, as this group, and work together. This is a lot of work. Some suggestions have made, and this group, IBI, did give us a lot of suggestions and even sequenced some of that. But they also wanted to have that opportunity to review all of our zoning regulations and such as well. So we may have to use an outside group to start that process for us. I mean, just looking at the workload you guys had tonight, when do you have the workload capacity to take on in-depth review, benchmarking other areas? Someone mentioned in last week's voting meeting, Paris, Tennessee has a good set we could benchmark off of. Roane County had some things going on too. So, you know, if you guys don't have the capacity, which I don't see that you do, then we can all work together. Long range planning, I believe, would be willing to head that effort up. But again, it's in the end we all work together on it. So
we may be able to get a grant. Yeah, I'm talking to the grant staff at my organization. We may be able to get a grant from the EDA, U.S. Economic Development Authority Association, whatever, for a comp plan. That they do give grants, and so it looked like it was for an economic development plan, and I said this, but he said, no, you can do a comp plan with that as well. So it may not have to fall to the county to fund the entire thing.
Well, that's
put about 45,000, I believe is what we put into this.
the 35.
35.
35 plus 10 grand for marketing.
40.
Yeah, 45. Yeah. I got a little bit left to spend.
Can we get that back? In a grant?
And,
That you've already spent?
Yeah.
No.
We kept receiving.
But I'm just saying, that this is typically part of a comprehensive plan, it's not just a standalone survey, because, okay, where do you go from here? Well, yeah, we don't have the staff in-house to do a comp plan like Knoxville, or Knox County. So you have to hire somebody to do it, and it probably should be done. I don't know the county budget and whatever, but they can talk about it.
Very slim.
Slim, so.
$3.5 million in the total, starting. Tell you what it is, and change.
So it may not.
They'll work that out.
We'll fund the money.
but our county said this is a priority.
The county's Jefferson County is one of the fastest growing counties in East Tennessee. I know that for a fact. It's not the top. I think Loudon is right up there at the top. And of course, Loudon, Knox, and Monroe, but Jefferson's up there for sure. So, you know.
So as far as grants, can I reach out to you directly and
I'll talk to you.
so
Do any of us have any further questions for Jim?
Comment, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Mr. Snodgrass for coming and do this. I also want to recognize Commissioner Huffaker, who's the vice chair, of the long-range plan. She did a lot of work on this. Appreciate her coming. And then we have a school board member back here, Doug Evans. I know they helped work with that. Mr. Bolton for getting us on the screen, and our bailiffs, who I think, you guys ready for us to go?
We get ready to say adjourn. Okay. We have another item on the agenda, so it'll be just a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. The rest of y'all for being here. We'll move on to D, discussion of the land use plan, possible rezoning of Jefferson County.
Mr. Chairman, I move.
I want to say the map, we got the map? No.
I'm about to put a motion on. I move that we move that to the next meeting.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, is there any more discussion?
I move we adjourn.
Move we adjourn. All those, we have a
Gotta
second.
vote on that.
We got to vote on.
We got to vote on the first one, so. All those in favor of postponing the discussion of the land use plan the next month, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Adjourned. All those in favor, let me know by standing.